Chapter 114. With Messenger Jean and the others leading the way, Ling Xiao soon arrived at a smithy. Ling Xiao looked at the dilapidated shop in front of him, and his expression was about to fall. He cursed in his heart, "Damn, this is the so-called largest forging workshop. Even if you're lying, you don't have to lie like this." The Jean envoy seemed to have seen through Ling Xiao's thoughts and immediately explained, "Young master, don't look down on this shop. Their real forging place is in the backyard." Ling Xiao pursed his lips and didn't say anything. Then he walked straight in. "Halt, we're not doing business today. If you want to forge a weapon, please make an appointment and come back in half a month." A middle-aged man who didn't look like he had a beard lazily said as he reclined on a chair with his feet on the table in front of him. Just as Ling Xiao was about to speak, the Jean envoy took out his token and said, "We're from the Ling family. Our young master needs a medicinal cauldron, please make an exception." The middle-aged man glanced at the Jean envoy's token and didn't see any panic on his face. He indifferently said, "Since you're old customers, then go in. There's something you want in the room at the very back. Go get it yourself and then come back here to settle the bill." The Jean envoy didn't seem to be surprised by this and nodded to Ling Xiao before walking in with him. But when Ling Xiao glanced at the middle-aged man who was still drinking, a trace of doubt flashed in his eyes, and he began to ponder. After Ling Xiao entered the rear courtyard, he saw a few blacksmiths working hard at the furnace with their naked bodies, forging weapons. All of these blacksmiths had extremely robust bodies, and every single one of them had a cultivation not lower than a mid-stage profounder. There were even one or two that had a cultivation at the profounder rank. "TSKSK, I didn't expect their blacksmithing cultivation to be so high," Ling Xiao exclaimed in his heart. If these words were heard by others, they would probably want to kill him. This was because his words were truly insulting to the noble blacksmiths. In fact, Ling Xiao didn't mean to look down on them. Instead, he was thinking about how he didn't ask Li Su to be his disciple. Otherwise, how could he pick up girls if he became like this? Ling Xiao walked all the way to the courtyard. He finally admitted that this place was worthy of being the largest forging workshop in Meteorite City. None of the weapons on the ground were below Tier 1 advanced, and most of them were at least Tier 2. Low and intermediate tier weapons made up the majority. Occasionally, a few Tier 2 advanced weapons could be seen. There were at least 1,000 weapons here. Just the weapons in front of him alone were worth God knows how much. However, according to the Golden Messenger, these were only inferior goods. The real good stuff was in every room. Hearing this, Ling Xiao was even more speechless. Looks like Old Man Li's reputation as a third-tier armament master wasn't just for show. Just looking at the scale, it didn't diminish his reputation at all. Walking to the last room, there were a few medicine cauldrons that were more than half a meter tall. Each of the medicine cauldrons was extremely exquisite, and the texture structure was also quite reasonable. However, they lacked spiritual energy. Ling Xiao picked a relatively small medicine cauldron and walked out of the room. At this moment, a familiar voice came from outside, "Li Yang, get back here for lousy." Ling Xiao could tell that the voice belonged to Li Yang himself, but he didn't know why he was so angry. Ling Xiao and the Five Elements envoy walked out of the room where the medicine cauldrons were placed. They saw the middle-aged man who was at the door earlier walk in with a wine jug. He muttered, "It's not easy to drink a few more cups." Just as Ling Xiao passed by the middle-aged man didn't forget to stretch out his hand and say, "Green medicine cauldron, Tier 2 intermediate cauldron, price 20,000 gold coins. Pay first, then leave." Ling Xiao was almost shocked by this middle-aged man. He didn't expect this guy to ask for such an exorbitant price. Ordinary Tier 2 intermediate weapons were only about 10,000 gold coins, but this guy actually asked for 20,000 gold coins. The middle-aged man seemed to see Ling Xiao's dissatisfaction and immediately said, "Young master, please don't haggle. Our forge never haggles, otherwise we won't welcome you next time." "Young master." The gold envoy hurriedly called out to Ling Xiao and nodded, indicating that the gold envoy's words were correct. It seems that the artificers here are really arrogant. Ling Xiao muttered in his heart and waved his hand to have someone pay the gold coins. "Li Yang, why aren't you getting your ass in here? Another voice came from an exquisite pavilion not far away. Everyone, please, I have to hurry back, Li Yang said with a faint smile. Then he ran back to the exquisite 3-story pavilion. This is Grandmaster Li's son, Li Yang. The gold envoy explained to Ling Xiao. Is there something wrong with him? Ling Xiao narrowed his eyes as he watched the middle-aged man walk away. The gold envoy's expression jumped and he immediately said, Young master, let's go back first. I'll tell you more on the way. Wait for a bit. You guys wait for me outside, I'll go over for a bit. Ling Xiao ordered and then chased after Li Yang. Ling Xiao hadn't even gotten close to the pavilion when 2 mystic experts blocked his path. This is Grandmaster Li's residence. Unauthorized people are not allowed to enter, one of the men said in a harsh tone. Ling Xiao ignored the two and shouted towards the pavilion, Grandpa Li, Ling Xiao requests an audience. You're courting death. One of the men couldn't help but raise his heavy blade to chop at Ling Xiao when he saw how rude Ling Xiao was. Ling Xiao quickly retreated a few steps to avoid being cut. He smiled faintly, I'm Grandpa Li's friend. It's not too late for you to stop now. Damn, how dare you pretend to be Grandmaster Li's friend? You're insulting Grandmaster Li. The man cursed and then slashed at Ling Xiao's face with a powerful fire attribute attack, wanting to kill Ling Xiao in one blow. Impudent! A heavy voice rang out, and an invisible force rushed over, sending the man flying. Grandpa Li, sorry for the disturbance. Ling Xiao respectfully greeted the person who had come. Ha, you still dare to walk out of your house? Aren't you afraid that the Li and Lan families will seek revenge? Li Yu walked over to Ling Xiao and patted his shoulder with a smile. The injured man on the ground and the man who hadn't attacked were both shocked. Who was this young man? How could he have such a good relationship with Grandmaster Li? I actually hope that they come for revenge so that they won't be bored. Ling Xiao spread his hands. You brat. Li Yu lightly scolded. Then he carefully looked at him and said, I didn't expect that after not seeing you for half a month, you brat could actually become a mid-level profound practitioner from a high-level profound practitioner. Could it be that you took some miraculous medicine? Of course not, I was just lucky, Ling Xiao said modestly. Li Yu didn't ask any more questions and brought Ling Xiao into his pavilion. After entering the pavilion, Ling Xiao didn't see the middle-aged man who had just walked in. Li Yu said, You're here to upgrade your weapons today, right? You stay here and call someone to pick them up in 2 days. I promise to forge them into peak-level second-level weapons. I naturally believe in Grandpa Li's ability, but what I want is a profound artifact, I wonder. Ling Xiao smiled. He hadn't finished speaking when he was immediately interrupted by Li Yu. You brat, profound artifacts aren't that easy to forge. At the very least, you need a 3rd-level beast core and a few precious profound iron. Each of these materials is hard to find even with tens of thousands of gold. Even if you ask me to forge them for you, you won't owe me that much for helping me stop the twin-headed lion, Li Yu said with slight annoyance. This brat really didn't know what was good for him. He had only forged a few profound artifacts in his life, which was enough to show the difficulty of forging profound artifacts. He actually had the nerve to directly ask him to forge a profound artifact. If it wasn't for the fact that he liked him, he would have immediately sent him off. Ling Xiao hurriedly said, Grandpa Li, don't be angry. I'm saying that if I provide the materials myself, can Grandpa Li help me forge them? No matter how much I ask for, I'm fine with it. You mean, you provide the materials yourself? Li Yu was stunned for a moment before asking. That's right, I provide them myself. Grandpa Li, if you need any materials, you can just make a list and give it to me, Ling Xiao said very seriously. Ah, good. If you can take out a 3rd-level beast core and a 1,000-year black profound iron, then I'll help you forge it. I can also help you make up for the other materials, Li Yu laughed. He didn't think that the brat in front of him had the ability to take out a 3rd-level beast core. Even if the elders of his family helped him obtain it, that 1,000-year black profound iron was an extremely rare item. Even he had only been able to obtain a small piece back then. Later on, he had used up all of it to forge profound artifacts. Until now, he hadn't been able to forge any profound artifacts because he lacked this 1,000-year black profound iron. Over the years, Many people had come to his door to ask him to forge profound artifacts, but none of them had been able to take out 1,000-year black profound iron. Thus, up until now, he had only been able to forge 3 profound artifacts. Just as Ling Xiao was about to open his mouth to speak, a mournful scream came from upstairs. It sounded very frightening. Immediately, Li Yu's expression became serious and he said, "Come find me when you find the 2 items I mentioned. This old man has something to do today, so you can go back first." When Ling Xiao heard that Li Yu wanted to send him off, he smiled slightly and said mysteriously, "Grandpa Li, is there anyone in the family who has been poisoned?" Li Yu looked at Ling Xiao and raised his eyebrows heavily. It looked like he was on the verge of exploding. Ling Xiao then said with certainty, "And it's the yang poison." "You know?" Li Yu's expression changed and he was extremely astonished. Many people knew that his son had been poisoned, but only a few knew that he had been poisoned by the yang poison. "I know." Ling Xiao nodded seriously and then said, "I can still cure it." "Really?" Li Yu stood up excitedly and exclaimed. "Really?" Ling Xiao replied. "If you can really cure my son's yang poison, then this old man can give you the profound artifact that I've treasured for many years." Li Yu grabbed Ling Xiao's hand and said very seriously, "Grandpa Li, aren't you making things difficult for me? I've already called you Grandpa, so it's only right for a grandson to do something for his grandfather. Let's not talk about this for now. First, take me to see Uncle Li," Ling Xiao said extremely humbly. He knew that this matter couldn't be joked about, so he put away his usual frivolous appearance. Li Yu didn't waste any more words and led Ling Xiao up the pavilion. Just as they approached the door from which the scream came, a wave of cold air continuously flowed out. Even though Ling Xiao had reached the mystic realm, he had no choice but to circulate his fire attribute to resist it. The 2 entered the room and saw that the middle-aged man that Ling Xiao had seen before was chained to a 1,000-year cold jade bed. Chapter 115. The 1,000-year chilled jade bed was the size of an ordinary bed. Such a large piece of chilled jade bed was an extremely precious item. Even gold coins wouldn't be able to buy it. Its color was emerald green and it emitted an oppressive cold qi. It emitted waves of sinister qi, making it seem extremely mystical. Li Yang's entire body was as red as a piece of iron, so red that it was purple and black. His veins were bulging like snakes, and he looked like he had gone mad. He roared incessantly and his face was distorted to a frightening degree. "Not good, the yang poison has already begun to invade his internal organs. We must save him immediately." Ling Xiao looked at Li Yang's condition and shouted. He rushed to Li Yang's side. Ling Xiao bluntly tore the clothes in front of Li Yang's chest, only to see a mass of dark red like a golden sun slowly converging on Li Yang's heart. As long as the yang poison reached his heart, Li Yang would definitely die. "Grandpa Li, please protect me. I must save him immediately, or he will die," Ling Xiao said with a doubtful expression. "All right, if you can save Li Yang, I can promise you anything." Li Yu replied worriedly and left the room, closing the door behind him. I don't know what kind of extreme yang item he took, but it's actually so domineering. Ling Xiao muttered to himself. He circulated his innate Yin Wind evil qi and slapped it on Li Yang's body. Before entering the forge, he had already felt that Li Yang was very strange. His entire face was red, and even his hand that was holding the wine was red. Moreover, it was dark, which was why he concluded that Li Yang had been poisoned by the yang poison. Everything in the world reinforced and restrained each other. To overcome an extreme yang item, one must have an extreme yin item. Ling Zhao's innate yin wind evil qi was an extreme yin item that could restrain the yang poison. That was why he dared to promise that he could cure Li Yang of the yang poison. The innate yin wind evil qi in Ling Zhao's body instantly spread towards Li Yang's body. A cloud of black air instantly enveloped the screaming Li Yang. Just as the innate yin wind evil qi invaded Li Yang's body, the yang poison in Li Yang's body seemed to sense the danger of the yin wind evil qi, so it quickly retreated. As long as the innate yin wind evil qi entered, the yang poison would completely retreat and hide in Li Yang's dantian. The yang poison was suppressed, and Li Yang quickly stopped screaming. Instead, he felt extremely cold, and a grinding sound came out of his mouth. With a pale face, he cried out, "Cold? So cold, what a cunning fellow! I don't know how long it has stayed here. Let me destroy you completely." Ling Xiao discovered that the yang poison had actually hidden itself in Li Yang's dantian. Thus, ignoring Li Yang's sorrowful cries, he controlled the innate yin wind and slowly pressed it towards Li Yang's dantian. Unexpectedly, when the innate yin wind baleful qi approached Li Yang's dantian, a strong yang poison rushed out and dispersed the innate yin wind baleful qi. Concentrating your strength to resist my innate yin wind evil qi, very good. This young master wants to see how much ability you have. After Ling Xiao muttered, he increased the speed at which he transferred his Xian Qi, and the innate yin wind evil Qi surged over like a tide. At this time, Li Yang could not stop complaining about the cold. His body wanted to curl up, but he was firmly locked by the iron chains, which made him feel extremely uncomfortable. If it wasn't for his strong willpower, he would have been tortured to death. Ling Xiao increased the speed at which he transferred his Xian Qi, and the innate yin wind evil Qi continued to wear down the yang poison in Li Yang's dantian. After an hour of consumption, the yang poison in Li Yang's body was finally completely expelled. Ling Xiao withdrew the innate yin wind evil Qi, and his face became much paler. His face was dripping with sweat from the excessive consumption. It's finally done. Ling Xiao wiped his sweat and walked towards the door. Li Yu was pacing back and forth outside the door, looking very anxious. When he saw Ling Xiao come out, he immediately grabbed his hand and asked, "Little guy, how is my Li Yang?" Ling Xiao revealed a bright smile and said, "Fortunately, I didn't disappoint you." "Really, please accept this old man's bow." Li Yu was pleasantly surprised. Then he actually wanted to thank Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao hurriedly supported Li Yu's body and said, "Grandpa Li, you're too much. If my grandpa finds out about this, he will definitely skin me alive. You should quickly go and release Uncle Li. Oh, I forgot, you little guy is waiting for me downstairs. Don't leave." Li Yu slapped his forehead and said, then immediately rushed into the house. Ling Xiao smiled bitterly and shook his head. In his heart, he felt that the #1 artificer in Meteorite City was no different from an ordinary person. He was just an old man who cared for his children. Not long after Ling Xiao arrived downstairs, he heard an explosion coming from upstairs. As the saying goes, one who survives a great disaster is bound to have good fortune later on. This saying is true. Ling Xiao looked at the big hole that was blasted upstairs and did not feel strange at all. Instead, he murmured as if he had already expected it. Then, there was a burst of laughter from upstairs. "Ah, I'm fine. I'm finally fine." Not long after, the upstairs quieted down, and then Li Yu and Li Yang came down together. At this moment, Li Yang's original decadent state was swept away, and his whole person was many times more spirited than before. His eyes flashed with a bright light, and his whole body's skin color returned to normal. Moreover, he seemed to have suddenly become 10 years younger. His cultivation had also broken through from the original middle-level mystic realm to the high-level mystic realm. It could be said that it was a blessing in disguise. The father and son quickly came in front of Ling Xiao, and Li Yang was very serious as he bowed to Ling Xiao and said, "Thank you, benefactor, for saving my life. I, Li Yang, will never forget it. In the future, if you want me to go up a mountain of swords or go down a sea of oil, I will not frown for a moment." Li Yang and his father were people who could distinguish between kindness and hatred, and immediately made a heavy promise to Ling Xiao. "Uncle Li, you are treating me like an outsider. In the future, just call me Ling Xiao." "I just happened to be at the right time and did not help much," Ling Xiao said modestly, which was rare for him. The more Li Yu looked at Ling Xiao's behavior, the more satisfied he was. He immediately said, "Well, we father and son will not be polite anymore. In the future, you are my godson. In the future, if you need Grandpa Li's help, just come to me. In the city, your grandfather still has some face." "In that case, thank you, Grandpa Li." Ling Xiao immediately responded with joy. To be able to obtain Li Yu's approval and become his godson was also a matter of face. In the future, it would also be a great help in Meteorite City. Coming here this time was really not in vain. His son's yang poison had been expelled, so Liu was in a good mood. He pulled Ling Xiao and insisted that he stay for a few drinks. Ling Xiao did not refuse, so he stayed and drank a few cups with Li Kong and his son. While they were drinking, Ling Xiao found out that Li Yang had encountered a mutated scarlet phosphor snake when he entered the mountain in his early years. Although he had killed the scarlet phosphor snake, he had been bitten. The red phosphor snake was a fire attribute spirit beast, and everyone knew that it was a snake spirit beast that did not have a strong poison. However, this mutated red phosphor snake was an exception. It actually contained a small amount of yang poison. At first, it did not cause any harm to Li Yang, but his body would occasionally heat up. However, that yang poison actually slowly grew in Li Yang's body. Every time the poison flared up, Li Yang would be in so much pain that he wanted to die. Recently, the poison flared up more and more frequently, and every time the poison flared up, Li Yang would go around destroying things like a madman, even brutally killing people. Later, every time before the poison flared up, Liu had no choice but to lock Li Yang up. Come, Xiao, if it wasn't for you today, I would have died, and this old man would not have a successor. Uncle Li offers you 3 cups. Li Yang was a free and easy person, but he had been tortured by the yang poison for many years. Now that it was cured, he was in a good mood. He said to Ling Xiao and drank 3 cups. That is because Uncle Li's life is not yet finished, Ling Xiao said as he drank a cup in return. Then the 3 people drank and chatted. Finally, when Ling Xiao said that he wanted to leave, Liu said to him, Xiao, don't go yet. Liu said sternly, then turned around and went to one of the rooms. Not long after, he came out with a weapon in his hand. Ling Xiao looked at the weapon and knew that it must be a Xian weapon that Liu had kept for many years. This flaming cloud sword is the pinnacle of my life's work, a middle 3rd level sword. Now I give it to you, Liu said, and without the slightest hesitation, he directly handed it to Ling Xiao. Old man. Li Yang knew that this sword had a great commemorative value to his father. Now that he was giving it to someone else, his heart was even more touched. Don't say anything. How can a mere Xian weapon compare to your life? Liu said with a wave of his hand. Ling Xiao took the flaming cloud sword and looked at the scabbard that was faintly suffused with fire qi. Without hesitation, he immediately pulled out the sword. Xiu! A fire elemental sword qi flew out, and the sword qi took the shape of a firebird in the air. The fiery qi was threatening, and the sword light flickered. Even if it was a simple sword strike, it would take the life of a mystic warrior expert on the spot. It really is worthy of being a Xian weapon, Ling Xiao praised in his heart. However, compared to the soft tide sword that Yun Mingqi obtained in the secret realm, this flaming cloud sword was more than 2 levels lower. Ling Xiao closed the flaming cloud sword and handed it back to Li Kong, saying, Grandpa Li, although this sword is good, it is not suitable for me to use. You should take it back. Could it be that you don't like Grandpa's sword? Li Kong asked. Of course not, Grandpa Li, please take a look, Ling Xiao said, and then circulated his Xian energy. His entire body was immediately enveloped in a ball of golden light. Liu now understood Ling Xiao's intentions. His flaming cloud sword was a fire-type sword, but Ling Xiao had a metal-type martial body. Fire subdued metal, and using a fire-type Xian weapon would not only not be able to display the weapon's power, but it would also cause one's Xian energy to decline. The gains did not make up for the losses. I forgot that your Ling family is mostly metal-type. It seems that I can only help you forge a metal-type Xian weapon, but I don't have a metal-type beast core, and as for the 1,000-year black profound iron, it is even more difficult to find, Liu said with a sigh. After a pause, he said, but don't worry, I will find a way to help you get it. Grandpa Li, don't worry, let's talk about Xian weapons later. You can upgrade this sword for me now, and when I find the materials, I will ask you to help me forge a Xian weapon, Ling Xiao said. He wanted to use the beast core and the 1,000-year black profound iron to help him forge a Xian weapon. However, if others knew that he had a spatial ring, he was afraid that it would lead to unnecessary trouble. After thinking about it, he decided to postpone this matter for now. Alright, I'll immediately help you upgrade these 2 swords. However, this is to repay the mountain range's favor, and you've saved my son's life. In the future, when you need our help, we will definitely help you, Li Su promised. Subsequently, Ling Xiao handed the blue crystal sword and the silver ghost blood blade to Li Yu. Chapter 116. Just as Li Su was about to go forge, Li Yang volunteered to help Ling Xiao upgrade his weapon. Li Su didn't argue and handed the sword to his son with a smile. After Li Yang left in a hurry, Li Kong explained to Ling Xiao that his son's tenbin was much higher than his. If there were enough materials, Li Yang would be able to forge a profound artifact. In other words, Li Yang's level had already reached the level of a 3rd-stage refiner, but he didn't have enough materials to forge a profound artifact himself. After listening to Li Su's explanation, Ling Xiao was completely relieved. In the afternoon, Li Yang returned the sword and saber to Ling Xiao's hands. Looking at the completely different blue crystal sword and silver ghost blood saber, Ling Xiao thought that Li Yang had brought the other 2 swords back to trick him. Fortunately, he could still feel that the sword and saber had a familiar feeling, so he was sure that the 2 swords in front of him were his. The sword and saber had already reached the peak of 2nd-stage weapons, 1 silver and 1 blue, shining with a dazzling brilliance. The more Ling Xiao looked, the more happy he was, and immediately thanked him. Uncle Li, thank you so much. Li Yang waved his hand. Xiao Xiao, you're treating me like an outsider. You saved Uncle Li, a mere 2nd-stage weapon is nothing. As long as you like the weapon in the forge, you can choose it. Hearing Li Yang's words, Ling Xiao was a little moved, but he still suppressed the impulse in his heart and said, I'll trouble Grandpa Li and Uncle Li when I gather the materials for a profound artifact. After the 3 of them exchanged pleasantries again, Li Su and Li Yang sent Ling Xiao out of the forge. The refiners who worked for Li Su were all curious about Ling Xiao. They were all wondering which family's young master this was, to be able to make Master Li and his son send him off. Even the patriarchs of the 3 great families didn't have this kind of courage. Ling Xiao returned with a full load, and was in a very good mood along the way. However, he was a little disappointed with the Li and Lan families. He was thinking, this young master is so arrogant, yet no one came to kill me, they really have no guts. If others heard this, they would scold him, saying that he was a madman. He actually hoped that someone would come and kill him. His brain must have been flooded with water. Ling Xiao didn't think that the Li and Lan families would let this go so easily. He had a feeling that they were plotting something. However, this was no longer within the scope of his jurisdiction. He should focus on cultivating the alchemy technique and the soul-controlling art. Only when he was strong would he be able to do so. After returning home, Ling Xiao instructed by Yushi not to let anyone disturb him, then he eagerly entered his room to learn alchemy. There were 2 reasons why he was so eager to learn alchemy. One, of course, was to see if he could get an alchemist profession in Tenbin for fun. The other was to improve his mental strength so that he could practice the 1st stage of the soul-controlling art, skill control. Ling Xiao, after familiarizing himself with the alchemy tactics, knew that alchemy consumed a lot of energy. Moreover, it required a high degree of concentration to refine a pill. He thought that this would make it easier for him to condense his mental strength as soon as possible. He would be able to sense the fluctuations of mental strength, which would allow him to practice the soul-controlling art. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Ling Xiao's idea was undoubtedly correct. On this continent, any alchemist had a very strong mental strength. When they fought with others, they could completely rely on the pressure of their mental strength to kill others. This mental strength was formed from the accumulation of alchemy day and night. Ling Xiao adjusted his mental state to its peak, and his first alchemy journey began. The first key to alchemy was to learn how to control fire. Before starting alchemy, Ling Xiao's first warm-up exercise was to practice how to control fire. A small ball of fire rose between his hands. The small flames were red and scorching hot. They fluctuated between big and small like a spirit snake, extremely agile. Alchemy is extremely particular about fire control. If the fire is too big, or if the fire is too small, it will lead to the failure of alchemy. Therefore, I must master it as I please before starting alchemy, Ling Xiao murmured to himself as he looked at the two small flames in his palms. It took Ling Xiao 2 days to learn how to control the fire. When he felt that he could really control the fire, he began to enter the real state of alchemy. Ling Xiao took out the medicine cauldron from his space ring as well as a spirit grass that exuded an emerald green glow. The stem and leaves of this spirit grass were very delicate, as if they would be damaged by the slightest force. This was the morning dew grass, the main ingredient for refining the dew-returning pill. It had an excellent restorative effect on the body's muscles. Ling Xiao took a light breath and threw the morning dew grass into the medicine cauldron. Then, the flames in his palms quickly burned towards the medicine cauldron. Ling Xiao had already memorized the alchemy tactics in his heart. He knew that alchemy required excellent control of fire. The first step was to extract the medicinal essence of the spirit grass. In the beginning, Ling Xiao still heated it slowly, and the morning dew grass gradually withered and condensed. Soon, seeing this, Ling Xiao's emotions could not help but fluctuate a little, and the intensity of the flames increased. In just an instant, the morning dew grass, which was about to extract its essence from the medicine cauldron, was immediately burnt. Ling Xiao's face drooped as he looked at his palms and muttered to himself, I can't get excited. I must have a heart as clear as ice, and not be shaken by the heavens. Ling Xiao once again calmed his mind and adjusted his state of mind. He threw another morning dew grass into the medicine cauldron, and slowly heated the medicine cauldron according to the key points mentioned in the alchemy tactics. The morning dew grass, just like before, was slowly extracted into its essence, and gradually turned into a milky white color. Ling Xiao was completely focused, and his expression did not change in the slightest. Just when the morning dew grass had completely turned into a milky white color, Ling Xiao's palms trembled, and the flames became a little hotter than before. The essence of the morning dew grass was completely extracted, and the floating white color appeared to be crystal clear, pure and unadorned. Ling Xiao did not dare to have a trace of carelessness. He isolated this ball of essence, and then threw in another supplementary spirit grass, and the flames rose again. After condensing the essence of 4 spirit grass in a row, Ling Xiao's forehead was covered with a thin layer of sweat. It could be seen that alchemy was not an easy task. As expected, when it came to the 5th spirit grass, Ling Xiao did not control the fire well, and burned another spirit grass. Facing the destroyed spirit grass, Ling Xiao did not produce any more fluctuations, and threw in the same spirit grass to start condensing. He extracted the essence of the spirit grass one by one, but he also damaged a total of 6 spirit grass before he finished extracting all the spirit grass needed for the dew-returning pill. But don't be happy too early, this was only the first basic step of alchemy. Damn, this is really tiring. Ling Xiao not only felt that his profound energy was being depleted, but even his spirit was very tired. Although he grumbled, but he would not give up easily. This was the first factor that made him a strong cultivator. Next, it was the step to separate the essence of the spirit grass. This step was the most difficult one, and it was also the crucial step to whether or not the pill was formed. Ling Xiao followed the order stated in the pill refining technique, and first placed the essence of the morning dew grass in the middle, with it as the center, and then gathered the essence of the other spirit grass one by one. Ling Xiao channeled his energy, and at the same time, provided the fire source. This was the time to increase the heat, to make sure that the essence of the spirit grass melted and mixed together. Who knew, just when Ling Xiao increased the heat, an explosion sounded. In the medicine cauldron, a thick cloud of gray smoke came out. Cough, cough. Even Ling Xiao could not react in time, and his face was blasted by the thick smoke. His white and handsome face became black like charcoal, and when he coughed, smoke came out of his mouth, looking very comical and embarrassed. This is good, this young master has become a black charcoal head. I don't believe that this small first-level pill can stump this young master. Ling Xiao laughed at himself, and then encouraged himself, and once again began to extract the essence of the spirit grass. With the experience from the extraction just now, Ling Xiao only lost 2 stalks of spirit grass, and then he condensed all the spirit grass. Next, it was the step of fusion. Ling Xiao took a few deep breaths, calmed his emotions, and gathered the essence of the spirit grass together again. This time, Ling Xiao did not dare to increase the heat too much. But he failed again because the heat was not enough, and the essence dispersed before it could fuse. But it was not as tragic as the previous explosion, and this time could be considered lucky. Ling Xiao had to start again. Soon after, he failed for the third time, and then continued. Fourth failure. Fifth failure. It was not until the eighth time that Ling Xiao finally fused the spirit grass together. He finally passed the second step. But don't think that this was considered a success. There was still the third step, which was the most difficult step, condensing the pill. Ling Xiao was completely focused, and his spirit was concentrated to the extreme. Sweat kept rolling down his face, but he was still unaware, and he remembered the key in his heart. First, increase the flame, raise the temperature, and then cut off the fire source to cool down the condensing pill. This process could not be more or less by a second, and he must hold on for a good time. Ling Xiao's emotions wavered slightly and he shouted softly, "Condense for me." With one hand he withdrew the flame, and with the other he pressed over with dark force. Swoosh! The spirit grass essence, which had long been fused together, instantly fused together and turned into 3 elixir forms. Done! Ling Xiao was delighted and immediately took out the elixir. He saw that the color of the elixir was much different from the elixir he usually took, and there seemed to be a little burnt smell. Furthermore, it was not as smooth and natural as a real elixir, and no matter how he looked at it, it did not look like an elixir at all. Ling Xiao comforted himself. Not bad, it's not bad to have such a result for the first time in condensing a pill. Who knew that just as his words fell, the 3 pills actually all fell down, turning into a ball of powdery substance. It can't be. The result of my hard work for half a day has become like this? Ling Xiao's face drooped, and his eyes were about to cry. He was just a little proud of the elixir, and it was destroyed. This was too much of a blow. F***ck, could it be that this young master's tenbin can't do it? I don't believe that I can't refine a pill. Ling Xiao cursed. He did not continue to refine the elixir, but sat down to recover. At the same time, he recalled the key points mentioned in the alchemy method. It mentioned that some exclusive techniques were extremely beneficial to alchemy. Not only could it increase the speed, but it could also increase the success rate. Chapter 117. After Ling Xiao recovered, he was not in a hurry to refine pills. Instead, he recalled the medicine sect's exclusive pill refining technique, Flaming Shadow Hand, which was mentioned in the pill refining technique. The Flaming Shadow Hand was divided into 7, 74, and 99 phantoms. Every move was as red as a cloud of fire. It was a technique that focused on controlling flames. Each phantom controlled a different flame size, which was to control the heat. As long as one mastered the Flaming Shadow Hand, they could control the heat as they pleased. Moreover, it could greatly increase the speed of refining pills. It was the medicine sect's exclusive pill refining technique. Ling Xiao focused on comprehending the Flaming Shadow Hand's chant and tricks. For a moment, he entered a state where he forgot about himself and his surroundings. He closed his eyes and his expression was solemn. His hands gradually spread out and flipped slowly. The movements of his hands gradually became faster. Gradually, one could only see countless hand phantoms flying in a certain trajectory. If someone were to see it now, they would be dazzled. They would not be able to tell which of these hands was the real one. Ling Xiao did not know how long he maintained this state. He knew that the Flaming Shadow Hand seemed to be some kind of superior palm technique. It was similar to the firmament palm, but the way it was used was completely different. The firmament expelling palm's explosive power was astonishing, while the Flame Shadow palm's power was long and continuous, constantly changing and unpredictable. Ling Xiao opened his eyes. His tiger-like eyes revealed a look of understanding. He muttered to himself, 7 by 7, 49 phantom hands. It is indeed unique. As long as one is familiar with it, it is much faster and more convenient to extract the medicinal essence. Moreover, It also has an obvious effect on condensing pills. Ling Xiao only needed one night to learn the Flaming Shadow Hand. Other than his own high perception, it was mainly because he had learned the Firmament Palm before. Moreover, he was very familiar with it. Now that he was learning another palm technique, it was naturally very easy for him to learn. Ling Xiao could not wait to see if the Flaming Shadow Hand was really that good. He threw a stalk of morning dew grass into the medicine cauldron and immediately used the Flaming Shadow Hand technique. A ball of suppressed flame fuel surrounded the medicine cauldron. Following that, Ling Xiao followed the Flame Shadow Hand's palm technique and repeatedly changed it. The intensity of the fire was also fluctuating, and he controlled it as he pleased. As expected, the essence of the morning dew grass was quickly extracted. Then, Ling Xiao continued to extract other spiritual herbs. With the help of the Flame Shadow Hand, his speed was more than twice as fast as before. However, Ling Xiao believed that this was still not the fastest speed. As long as he cultivated the Flame Shadow Hand to the extreme, he would be able to shoot out 49 phantoms at the same time. Then, the speed at which he refined pills would be at least 10 times faster than his current speed. After extracting the essence, it was time for the fusion. With his previous experience, the fusion went quite smoothly. Finally, it was time to condense the pill. Ling Xiao struck out 24 palms in succession. The flames burned fiercely on the medicinal cauldron, and then the flames were cut off. Condense! Ling Xiao bellowed and pressed down with his profound energy. After a while, the essence of the spirit grass was divided into 5 and finally combined together. The pill was formed. Ling Xiao carefully picked them up. Looking at the 5 round and smooth pills, a fragrant medicinal smell assailed his nostrils. Haha, it's a success this time, right? Ling Xiao laughed and immediately took out the pill bottle to store the 5 morning dew pills. 4 ordinary low-grade pills. One set of ingredients could produce 10 pills. For Ling Xiao to be able to refine 5 pills this time, it meant that he still wasted half of the medicinal properties. However, this amount was slightly better than the average alchemist. If other alchemists saw that this guy had only learned alchemy for a few days and was able to successfully condense 5 pills on his first try, they would probably exclaim that he was a genius. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. Ling Xiao had been in the Xianling continent for a whole year. Half a year ago, Ling Xiao offended one of the 3 major families in Meteorite City, the Li family, and another family that was on the verge of becoming a major family, the Lan family. Originally, he thought that the Li family and the Lan family would launch a crusade against the Ling family. Who knew that after half a year of waste in Meteorite City, the Li family and the Lan family seemed to have forgotten the humiliation that Ling Xiao gave them and did not do anything to the Ling family. In this half a year, the Ling family had become much more peaceful and harmonious. Every time the cabinet had a meeting, the 2nd patriarch and the 5th patriarch did not always argue with the clan leader Ling Tsong like before. This was rather strange. No matter what was going on outside, ever since Ling Xiao came back from the mountain half a year ago, he almost lived in seclusion. He rarely stepped out of the house and wholeheartedly stayed in his room. At the same time, he asked Lone Eagle to guard the door. Without his permission, no one was allowed to come in and disturb him. Since Lone Eagle took the Yin Windgrass that Ling Xiao gave him, his strength had increased by another level. From the initial high-level Mystic Cultivator, he had stepped into the middle high-level Mystic Cultivator and was not far from the peak of the Mystic Cultivator. The purity of his wind attribute had also increased a lot because of the Yin Windgrass. Of course, his speed had also increased a lot. Moreover, he had also condensed a few wisps of Yin Wind Evil Qi. If he were to fight against an opponent of the same level, he would almost have a sure chance of winning. In this half a year, Ling Zhao's father broke through another level and became a middle-level Mystic Cultivator. Although this speed was not as fast as Ling Zhao's, it was very fast in Meteorite City. Besides the fact that Ling Zhan's Tenbin was not weak, the more important point was that he was originally at the peak of the Mystic Cultivator. Naturally, he was much faster than others when he cultivated again. In addition, Bai Yushi, who was just an ordinary person a year ago, actually broke through to the cultivation of a low-level Mystic Cultivator. Besides her own hard work in cultivation, it also showed that the Water Moon Divine technique was indeed extraordinary. Her cultivation speed was many times faster than others. In this regard, Ling Xiao also passed the Water Moon Divine technique to his mother to cultivate. Meng Xiun originally also had the cultivation of a high-level mystic cultivator. After cultivating the Water Moon Divine technique, she also successfully broke through to the low-level mystic cultivator. Moreover, she had the wood and water attributes. It could be said that in this half a year, Ling Xiao's family had many happy events. However, Ling Xiao did not have time to share this joy. He still tirelessly refined pills in his room. Lone Eagle, who was guarding outside the room, could hear the sound of explosions coming from the room from time to time. The earth-shattering sound at first even alarmed the attention of Ling Xiao's family, but they gradually got used to it and the sound of explosions gradually decreased. In Ling Xiao's room, he was naked. His palms were emitting a gentle flame, and the shadows of his palms kept hitting the medicine cauldron. A fragrant medicinal smell came from the medicine cauldron, making people feel refreshed. He suddenly sped up the speed of his palms, and the flame in his hands also became more and more vigorous. Just as the flame burned to its peak, he suddenly retracted his palms and shouted, "Condense for me!" Both palms pressed down on the medicine cauldron. Bang! A cloud of white smoke came out, and the strong smell of medicine instantly filled the entire room. Ling Xiao lightly stroked the black hair on his forehead. His tiger-like eyes shone with a bright light, and a complacent smile appeared on his face as he said, "Heh, I'm still not done with you, little pill." Following that, Ling Xiao put away the 10 pills in the medicine cauldron. If a martial artist with a certain understanding of pills was here, he would definitely recognize that this was a stage 2 pill, the muscle growth pill. Seeing that Ling Xiao was able to refine 10 pills in one go, and they were all stage 2 pills, he was already a very outstanding tier 2 alchemist. In this half a year, he had worked hard to learn alchemy, and without anyone's guidance, he had actually become a tier 2 alchemist. If others knew about this, they would probably exclaim that he was a monster. Why was an alchemist the most respected person on this continent? It was precisely because the profession of alchemist was not something that everyone could learn. In addition to possessing the fire attribute, one also needed to have a firm heart and patience, and even more importantly, one's comprehension ability. These few major elements were indispensable. For an ordinary alchemist to reach the level of a tier 2 alchemist, it would take at least 3 to 5 years to complete. This was still referring to Tenbin's good alchemist. If it was an ordinary alchemist, it would probably take more than 10 years, or even longer. Now, Ling Xiao had only spent half a year to become a tier 2 alchemist, and the finished product was actually 100%, without wasting any medicinal power. Didn't this mean that he was a monster in Tenbin? However, Ling Xiao himself was very dissatisfied with this, because he felt that it took him more than half a year to become a tier 2 alchemist. This was really too long. If it had only taken him 3 months, it would have been more or less the same. If others were to find out that this fellow was still not satisfied, perhaps everyone would hack him alive. Of course, there was another important reason why Ling Xiao worked so hard to refine pills, and that was to sense the undulations of his mental energy. Every day he would wholeheartedly refine pills, and at night he would be exhausted. Then he would choose to meditate to recover his Xian energy, and every time his Xian energy was replenished, he would choose to meditate his mental energy, hoping to sense the undulations of his mental energy as soon as possible. Sure enough, his choice was very correct. In the 4th month of alchemy, he began to feel the undulations of his mental energy, which made him very happy. Then, he spent a lot of time practicing his skill manipulation techniques. First, he had to condense his mental energy into various shapes, such as needles, fists, palms, fingers. Until today, he could already control his mental energy to form needles to attack anything, and only he could sense the undulations of these shapes. Within a 2-meter radius, if someone were to exchange blows with him, as long as he used his mental strength to attack the opponent's sea of consciousness, even opponents of a higher level than him would be easily injured. Even a spirit master would be at a disadvantage. However, with Ling Xiao's current mental energy, he could only launch 2 attacks at most. Apart from the heart, there were many other places that were vital, such as the mind. Once it was injured, the worst case would be immediate death, and the lightest case would cause confusion in the mind, creating an inner demon. This would cause great harm to his future cultivation, and it would be difficult for him to advance even an inch in his life. Once he mastered the first stage of the soul-controlling art, skill manipulation, as long as his opponent's mental energy wasn't very strong, he could almost instantly kill them. Killing people invisibly, this was the terrifying part of using mental energy to attack, and it was also the essence of it. Ling Xiao opened the door to his room, and Lone Eagle immediately said respectfully, "Greetings, young master." Ling Xiao patted Lone Eagle's shoulder and said, "You've worked hard for the past 6 months. Go back and rest for 2 days, and come see me the day after tomorrow." He paused for a moment, then said, "Right, tell Yushi to get the servants to bring water over. I want to bathe and change my clothes." Lone Eagle glanced at Ling Xiao, and didn't say anything more. He bowed and immediately left. Chapter 118. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and thought to himself, "It seems that Lone Eagle has already gotten into character." Not long after, Bayushi asked someone to bring a bathwater. After everyone left, Bayushi said very frankly, "Young master, Yushi will help you bathe and change your clothes." Half a year had passed and Bayushi had become a profound practitioner. She had become more and more elegant and charming, and her body was even more voluptuous and seductive. Ling Xiao had not seen her for a long time in the past half a year to focus on alchemy and cultivation. Now that his seclusion was over, he naturally needed to relax. 2 days later, Ling Xiao appeared in the courtyard wearing a pure white martial outfit. He wore a cloak specially made from the armor of the mountain pangolin beast. His whole person looked elegant and handsome, without losing the masculine and domineering aura of a martial artist. Although Ling Xiao was a bit arrogant, after dressing up and wearing this outfit, he indeed had the charm of a man that could make many girls throw themselves at him. Bayushi, who was very close to him, looked at Ling Xiao with a swaying expression. "Young master, you're so handsome." Bayushi stared at Ling Xiao and praised. Ling Xiao touched her face and said with a smile, "This young master has always been so handsome. Did you just realize it? You really deserve a beating." Ling Xiao pretended to hit Bayushi, but she smiled sweetly and said in a low voice, "Young master, we'll fight at night." When he came to the hall, his father Ling Zhan and his third uncle Ling Tao were both there. "Third uncle, what brings you here?" Ling Xiao said to Ling Tao with a smile. "Good boy, don't you want to see third uncle?" Ling Tao laughed and scolded. "Of course not, I'm just feeling sorry for my wine." Ling Xiao sat down and joked. "You're really stingy," Ling Tao said with a smile and then asked, "Xiao, have you seen the Supreme Elder recently?" "No, I haven't seen him for a while." After Ling Tao asked, Ling Xiao remembered that he hadn't seen the old man for a long time. Could it be that the Grand Elder has gone out to travel? Ling Tao asked doubtfully. "Third uncle, why are you looking for him?" Ling Xiao asked. "It's like this. The great family competition will begin in half a month, and all the elders hope that the Grand Elder can step forward to encourage and guide the sons of the Ling family," Ling Tao replied. Only then did Ling Xiao walk over. But when he thought about not seeing the old master, he felt a little uneasy for some reason. After sending Ling Tao away, Ling Xiao called Lone Eagle out. "Is the Luo family holding an auction tomorrow?" Ling Xiao asked. Through Solitary Eagle's previous report, Ling Xiao knew that the only auction in Meteorite City was controlled by the Luo family. Auctions could help people auction high-grade spirit herbs, elixirs, weapons. One eagle nodded and said, "Yes, tomorrow." "Okay, come with me to the auction now." Ling Xiao nodded and said. Lone Eagle didn't say much and immediately followed Ling Xiao out of the house. Once Ling Xiao walked out of the house, the 5 Elements envoy immediately followed behind Ling Xiao. Although Meteorite City was calm, the 5 Elements envoy still followed the Grand Elder's instructions to ensure Ling Xiao's safety as soon as he left the Ling family's territory. The 5 Elements envoy had become Ling Xiao's personal guard. This was a treatment that no one in the younger generation of the Ling family had ever received. Just as Ling Xiao walked out of the Ling family's territory, he saw two familiar faces. They were Leng Shi and Wei Dyer, whom he hadn't seen for half a year. Ling Xiao was about to go forward and greet them, but he found that they seemed to be in trouble. When Leng Shi and Wei Dyer came out of the Illusion Valley, they had been searching for Green Wolf, hoping to kill him to avenge their brothers. But no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't find Green Wolf. Later, they heard that Ling Xiao had returned to Meteorite City, so they decided to seek refuge with Ling Xiao. However, the Ling family had already entered a state of alert. Without the permission of the Ling family, no strangers were allowed to step into the Ling family's territory. They were stopped before they entered the Ling family's territory. Even though they said that they were Ling Zhao's friends, no one was willing to let them in. This was because the Ling family's guards were afraid that these two were assassins hired by the Li family and Lan family. If they let them in and assassinated young Master Ling Xiao, they would be charged with a huge crime. Therefore, Leng Shi and Wei Dyer would appear near the Ling family's territory from time to time, hoping that they would bump into Ling Xiao. Today, they came to the Ling family's territory with the hope of getting lucky. Who knew that they would be interrogated as suspects? Now, it was the fifth elder's grandson, Ling Rui, who was interrogating them with guards. Ling Rui and Ling Xiao had a grudge. Back then, because of Ling Zhao's words in the cabinet, he was almost expelled from the family. He would remember this grudge for the rest of his life. However, as Ling Zhao's status in the family rose, Ling Rui naturally did not dare to find trouble with Ling Xiao. Who knew that when they went out to play today, they would meet the Leng Shi siblings. When he first saw Wei Dyer's enchanting face and voluptuous figure, he was immediately captivated. Dirty thoughts arose in his mind. Therefore, he brought the guards who were guarding nearby to interrogate them. Who knew that these two people were actually looking for his archenemy, Ling Xiao. This made him very angry, so he planned to give them the identity of suspected assassins and capture them. He was imagining that as long as he captured them, this woman would be at his mercy. However, Ling Rui neglected the Leng Shi siblings' strength. It was a fool's dream to think that he could capture them with just two middle-ranked and one high-ranked Xianxia practitioner. Leng Shi and Wei Dyer did not want to be entangled, but Ling Rui ordered his men to block their way. The two of you better follow me back obediently. As long as you explain things clearly and prove that you are not assassins, I can let you go. Ling Rui's pair of lustful eyes stopped in front of Wei Dyer. He was almost drooling. Young Master, we have said many times that we are only looking for young Master Ling Xiao. We are his friends, not assassins. Leng Shi explained again patiently. If this wasn't the Ling family's territory, he would have immediately crippled this little mid-level profound practitioner. There was no need for him to speak so much nonsense. I have never heard that Ling Xiao has any friends. I only know that he has caused a lot of trouble and people are trying to kill him. You must be trying to disguise as his friends and sneak in to kill him, right? Ling Rui said with certainty. His eyes never left Wei Dyer. Brother, don't talk nonsense with him, let's go. Wei Dyer hated Ling Rui's eyes. She pulled Leng Shi's hand and wanted to leave. Unexpectedly, Ling Rui waved his hand again and ordered his guards to block in front of Leng Shi and Wei Dyer. If you don't come back with me and explain things clearly, don't blame me for being rude. Ling Rui had just advanced to a middle-ranked Xianxia practitioner not long ago. How could he see through Leng Shi and Wei Dyer's cultivation? He only relied on the fact that he was near the family and had guards by his side. It was easy to deal with these two people. Just when the situation was tense, Ling Xiao walked out from behind and said gloomily, Ling Rui, how are you going to be rude to my friends? When Ling Rui heard Ling Xiao's voice, his body trembled slightly. He immediately turned around and glared at Ling Xiao. He snorted coldly. He knew that he could not get his hands on this beauty this time and was about to leave unwillingly. Stop right there. Did I allow you to leave? Ling Xiao shouted. In the past, he was almost killed by this brat. Later on, he taught him a lesson. However, things were different now. He had to regain some face. What else do you want? Ling Rui asked weakly. Looking at the 5 elements envoys behind Ling Xiao, they were all deacons of the family. He knew that he did not have the ability to go against Ling Xiao, so he naturally would not cause trouble for Ling Xiao. He was only afraid that Ling Xiao would cause trouble for him. Remember clearly, they are all my friends. They are not people you can yell at. If I see you treat them like this again, don't blame me for being rude. Ling Xiao stared coldly at Ling Rui and warned him. Ling Rui did not dare to look at Ling Xiao's sharp eyes and did not dare to talk back. He turned around and ran away with his tail between his legs. But in his heart he said resentfully, "You won't be arrogant for long. Very soon, I will step on you like an ant." What the hell? If it wasn't for the strict rule against infighting, I would have crippled you, Ling Xiao said disdainfully. Then he turned around and smiled at Leng Shi and Wei Dyer. "Brother Leng, sister, long time no see." "Long time no see," Leng Shi said to Ling Xiao. Wei Dyer snorted and turned her pretty face to Leng Shi and said, "Brother, let's go." Ling Xiao felt that the two of them were not happy to see him. After all, he had saved them in the mountains. How could they forget about it so quickly? "Brother Leng, it's better to meet by chance than to invite my sister. How about I treat you to a drink?" Ling Xiao said with a smile. "If you want to drink, you can go and drink by yourself. We are just commoners in the mountains. We don't dare to associate with young Master Ling," Wei Dyer said coldly. Then she pulled Leng Shi's hand and was about to leave. Chapter 119. Leng Shi grabbed Wei Dyer's hand and said to Ling Xiao, "We've been waiting for you, but it's been half a year. I'm angry with you." "Brother, why are you talking to him?" Wei Dyer said angrily. She then shook off Leng Shi's hand and was about to run away. Ling Xiao would not let her leave so easily. He immediately stood in front of Wei Dyer and said softly, "Sister, don't be angry. I've been in seclusion for the past half a year. I really didn't know that you were looking for me." Who's looking for you?" "We're the ones who did it," Wei Dyer said unhappily. Her beautiful eyes were filled with tears. In the mountains, Ling Xiao had told them that if they had nowhere else to go, they could look for him at any time. They were tired of the mercenary life, so when Ling Xiao returned to Meteorite City, they planned to rely on him. Who knew that Wei Dyer would also be angry after repeatedly touching the needles? Moreover, she had already fallen in love with this man who was a few years younger than her. Now that she saw him again, she felt wronged and threw a tantrum. "Good sister, it's my fault. If you can't vent your anger, you can do whatever you want as long as you listen to my explanation," Ling Xiao said to Wei Dyer with a sullen face like a child who had done something wrong. Wei Dyer saw Ling Xiao's expression and her mood improved a little. She immediately said, "Can I do whatever I want? Back then, I didn't fight back when I was hit or scolded. You could even kill me if you wanted to vent your anger," Ling Xiao said righteously. He shouted in his heart, "Come on, hitting is kissing, talking is love, I can take it." Wei Dyer pretended to hit Ling Xiao, but the Five Elements envoy immediately appeared beside Ling Xiao. Wei Dyer was so scared that she did not dare to do anything. Ling Xiao waved the Five Elements envoy away and said again, "Sister, Brother Leng, I really didn't know that you've been waiting for me. If you really believe me, accompany me for a drink and I'll apologize and explain to you." Seeing that Ling Xiao's attitude was so sincere, the Cold Snake siblings agreed to accompany Ling Xiao to the Savory Fragrance House. The Savory Fragrance restaurant was now considered one of the protected properties of the Ling family, and this was all because of Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao came to Wei Xiangju twice, and Wei Xiangju was demolished twice. The shopkeeper had no choice but to sell it. Coincidentally, it was bought by the Ling clan's external affairs deacon. When he arrived at the Savory Fragrance House, the shopkeeper naturally recognized the famous young master of his family. He quickly put down the abacus in his hand and went out to welcome him. "Young Master Xiao, please come in," the shopkeeper said respectfully. Ling Xiao nodded and asked the Five Elements envoy to stand guard outside. Then he brought the Cold Snake siblings and Lone Eagle to the second floor. When they got upstairs, Ling Xiao didn't waste any time and immediately explained that he had been in closed-door training ever since he returned to the clan. He really didn't know that they had been looking for him, otherwise he would have called someone to pick them up. Lone Eagle could testify for Ling Xiao. Cold Snake and Wei Dyer looked at each other, and then Cold Snake said, "Little brother Xiao, we have misunderstood you. I'll drink this wine." After saying that, he picked up the big bowl of wine on the table and drank it all. "It was my fault first, and I made Brother Leng and Sister feel wronged," Ling Xiao said, and drank his wine as well. "Little brother Xiao, we have long planned to follow you, and we don't know what you want," Cold Snake said directly. Ling Xiao immediately replied, "That's exactly what I want. As long as Brother Leng and Sister are willing, we are a family." "Whose family with you? Little brother, you're so easygoing." Wei Dai regained her straightforward personality and said to Ling Xiao. She looked really charming and charming. Ling Xiao said shamelessly, "Brother Leng is my brother, and you are my sister. Of course we are a family." "Little brother Xiao, I'll call you young master from now on, so that others won't say anything bad about it," Cold Snake said sensibly. Although he called Ling Xiao brother in the mountains, Ling Xiao's status was still there. As long as Ling Xiao continued to grow, he would become the overlord of Meteorite City sooner or later. If he called him big brother, it would be a little too much. "My mouth is on other people's face, so I can say whatever I want. What does it matter?" Ling Xiao said indifferently. Cold Snake insisted again and again that he would call Ling Xiao young master. He had already resolved to pursue Ling Xiao for the rest of his life. At the same time, he also made plans for his sister. As long as Ling Xiao nodded, even if his sister became Ling Xiao's concubine, he would not care as long as his sister could be happy. With Cold Snake and Wei Dai following him, Ling Xiao was in a good mood. The few of them stayed in the Sweet Fragrance house for an hour before heading to the Luo family's auction. Tomorrow was the day of the auction. Ling Xiao was not going to auction anything, but to ask the Luo family to auction something for him. He spent half a year concocting pills, and in order to buy spirit grasses, he did not know how many gold coins he had spent, and now he was penniless. In order to continue concocting, he had to buy spirit grasses, but he no longer had any gold coins, so he could only take things to auction. Anything that could be auctioned would not be ordinary, or else it would not be auctioned. Ling Xiao had refined a lot of first and second level pills. He would auction some of them to earn back his capital. Of course, those first-level pills were not qualified to be auctioned. He wanted to sell those second-level pills. There were 2 or 3 first-level alchemists in Meteorite City, so it was not difficult to get first-level pills. As long as one had gold coins, anyone could buy them. However, there were very few second-level pills. In the auction, it was rare to see it once or twice a year, and each time, it was provided by the Spirit Herb Hall for the auction. It was said that there was a second-grade alchemist in the Spirit Herb Hall, but the pills he refined were too few and could not meet the needs of the big families. Ling Xiao had ordered Lone Eagle to investigate and learn all of this. Therefore, he planned to auction some of the pills so that he would have enough gold coins to continue squandering. Ling Xiao brought Lone Eagle, Cold Snake, and the 5 Elements envoy through the city. Many people recognized Ling Xiao and were secretly discussing him. There were also many bold young girls who kept throwing flirtatious glances at Ling Xiao, hoping to gain Ling Xiao's favor and change their lowly status. Ling Xiao thought to himself proudly, "This feeling is not bad. It's a little like a nouveau riche." No wonder so many young masters and young mistresses like to parade through the city with a large group of guards. Soon, Ling Xiao's group arrived at the Luo family's auction house. Among the 3 big families in Meteorite City, the Ling family was the strongest and the Li family was the most powerful. The Luo family had always been very low-key, but no one dared to underestimate the Luo family's strength. First of all, in terms of wealth, the Luo family occupied the top spot. Every year, the Luo family auctioned items that were worth billions of gold coins. They also earned a lot of gold coins by taking a cut. This was something that the other 2 families could not compare to. The construction of the auction house was very grand and spectacular. It looked magnificent and extraordinary. As soon as they arrived at the entrance of the auction house, a martial artist from the Luo family immediately stopped Ling Xiao's group. "The auction will start tomorrow, so it won't be open today." Ling Xiao was too lazy to speak, and Lone Eagle said, "My young master has something to auction." When the 2 guards heard Lone Eagle's words, one of them made a gesture and said, "Please follow me." Ling Xiao and the others followed the Luo family's guards into the auction house's reception area. Following that, a pretty young woman appeared in front of Ling Xiao and the others. The young woman was around 30 years old, and her beautiful eyes sized up the handsome Ling Xiao. Her beautiful eyes were filled with color as she said, "Young master, what treasures do you have to auction?" Ling Xiao looked at the young woman. Her body and appearance were indeed somewhat impressive, but compared to Wei Dai, it was still not enough. She could not arouse his desire to flirt with her. Ling Xiao placed 3 bottles of pills in front of the young woman and said, "Auction level 2 pills. Tier 2 medicinal pill." The young woman was clearly shocked. Not only the young woman, but even the 5 elements envoy and the Lung Shi siblings behind Ling Xiao revealed looks of surprise. The young woman did not say anything else, but her expression became serious. She picked up one of Ling Xiao's bottles of pills and opened the lid. A strong medicinal smell filled the air. "Young master, please wait a moment. I'll have our elders come out to supervise." The young woman's attitude became a bit more respectful as she spoke and then retreated. At this time, Envoy Jin turned to Ling Xiao and asked, "Young master, is this really a level 2 pill?" Ling Xiao nodded. "It's the real deal." "Then why don't you sell them to the family?" Messenger Jin asked carefully. It had to be known that there were not many level 2 and above pills in the family. Every year, the family would take out a large sum of money to purchase pills, and these pills would be distributed to the elders who had contributed to the family. Every year, they would also take out a few pills to reward the younger generation. The consumption was also shocking. If they were able to purchase level 2 pills on a regular basis, then it wouldn't be a problem with the Ling family's finances. However, in a small place like Meteor City, there were far too few level 2 pills. Furthermore, it wasn't just the Ling family that was purchasing them, the other families were also fighting over them. At this time, Ling Xiao had brought out a level 2 pill to auction. Messenger Jin knew how powerful it was, so he suggested that Ling Xiao sell it back to the family. In this way, Ling Xiao would not only be making a contribution to the family, but he would also be bringing benefits to the family. This was a win-win situation. Ling Xiao remained unmoved and replied, "I have my own plans for this matter." Would he even care about the 3 bottles of pills in front of him? These 3 bottles were the worst quality goods that he had refined. He only wanted to see what kind of price a second-tier medicinal pill could fetch. At the same time, he could earn some gold coins so that it would be convenient for him to purchase more spiritual herbs and continue refining pills. Not long after, the young woman came out with an old man and a young woman. These 2 were actually people that Ling Xiao was familiar with. The old woman was the Luo family head's wife, Granny Mo Hongmei, and the other was the beautiful Luo Qingshuang. Chapter 120. Brother Xiao, you finally came to see me. When Luo Qingshuang saw Ling Xiao, her face was filled with endless joy. She immediately let go of Granny Mo's hand and ran towards Ling Xiao. "Now that I have a lover, I've forgotten about my grandmother," Mo Hongmei said happily. Ling Xiao didn't expect Luo Qingshuang to be here, but when he remembered that this was the Luo family's territory, he understood. "Shuang, I didn't expect to see you here," Ling Xiao said with a smile. He then turned to Mo Hongmei and said respectfully, "Greetings, Granny Mo." Mo Hongmei laughed, "Grandson-in-law, you're here, and you even brought so many people with you. Are you trying to tear down my auction?" As soon as she said this, Wei Daier's heart shook. She didn't know why, but she felt unusually uncomfortable. "Granny Mo, this junior has offended too many people. The elders in the family are worried, so they're following me," Ling Xiao replied. "You also know that you've offended a lot of people," Mo Hongmei said. She then turned to the young woman beside her and said, "Where's the esteemed guest who's going to auction the pills?" The young woman was surprised, and then she pointed at Ling Xiao and said, "Elder Mo, this is the young master who's going to auction." Grandson-in-law has second-tier pills to auction? Even Mo Hongmei looked at Ling Xiao in surprise. Ling Xiao nodded and placed 3 bottles of pills in front of Mo Hongmei, saying, "Granny Mo, here's a bottle of energy consolidation pills, a bottle of storm pills, and a bottle of muscle growth pills. Please take a look." Mo Hongmei looked at Ling Xiao with a complicated expression and then picked up the 3 bottles of pills to check. Sure enough, one bottle contained high-tier energy consolidation pills, one low-tier second-tier storm pills, and the last bottle contained mid-tier second-tier muscle growth pills. Grandson-in-law, come with me. Mo Hongmei sealed the 3 bottles of pills and returned them to Ling Xiao. She then called out to Ling Xiao and led the way to a room. Ling Xiao nodded and asked the others to wait outside as he prepared to follow Mo Hongmei. At this time, Luo Qingxuang was very happy. She held onto Ling Xiao's arm and said, "Brother Xiao, I'll go with you." When the two of them entered the room, Wei Dyer's face flashed with an undetectable sadness. Ling Shi had been paying attention to the girl's expression. He felt a little disappointed for her, but he didn't think much of it. With Ling Xiao's status, it was normal for him to have multiple wives and concubines in the future. It was also a good thing for Wei Dyer to face reality earlier. If she couldn't accept the fact that Ling Xiao was with other women, then it was better to cut off her feelings for Ling Xiao as soon as possible to avoid suffering in the future. Actually, on the Xianling continent, it was very common for men to have multiple wives. The prerequisite was that they had the ability, and no one would say anything about it. After Ling Xiao and Luo Qingxuang entered the room, Mo Hongmei looked at Ling Xiao and went straight to the point. "Do you know that this is a level 2 pill?" Ling Xiao nodded and said, "Granny Mo, I know what you want to ask. This pill is mine. As for why I didn't leave it for the family, I naturally have my reasons. I won't reveal this aspect." "Then do you know that these 3 bottles of pills are very important to any family?" Mo Hongmei looked straight at Ling Xiao and asked. "Of course, although the consolidating qi pill is only a level 1 medicinal pill, its value is the highest among all level 1 medicinal pills. It can increase the chances of a level 9 martial disciple breaking through to the profound disciple realm. It is the most difficult and also the most precious medicinal pill to refine. The Gale pill is a low-level second-stage medicinal pill. It can increase the speed of any martial artist below the profound disciple realm by 2 to 3 times. Its effects are self-evident. The muscle-growing pill is a life-saving spirit pill. Its effects are obvious even if I don't say it." Ling Xiao explained the properties of the 3 medicinal pills. "You are right. But don't you know that these 3 bottles of pills can provide a lot of protection for your Ling family?" Mo Hongmei asked again. With this bottle of qi strengthening pill, at least a few martial disciples could successfully break through to the mystic realm. The speed flying pill and the muscle gaining pill were used to kill enemies and save lives. If they were given to the deacons of the family who went out to handle affairs, it would provide more protection. Ling Xiao chuckled and said, "Granny Mo, are you advising me to put the family's interests first? Since you know that the pills were made by me, why don't you think that I have more pills?" Mo Hongmei's old eyes twitched, and then she asked excitedly, You know a level 2 alchemist? No. It should be a level 3 alchemist or above." Ling Xiao was stunned for a moment, and then he nodded and said, "You can say that, but why do you think that he is a level 3 alchemist?" Mo Hongmei said, "The color and smell of the pills you just took out are quite high. They are definitely not refined by an ordinary level 2 alchemist. Only an alchemist above the level 3 alchemist would have this ability." Ling Xiao was stunned, but he did not think that he was a level 3 alchemist. At the very least, he would have to refine a level 3 alchemist. A level 3 pill required level 3 spirit grass and a large amount of level 2 and above spirit grass. These materials were not easy to obtain. "Grandson-in-law, do you want to introduce me to that alchemist?" Mo Hongmei's tone became a bit more intimate, as if she really saw Ling Xiao as her grandson-in-law. It must be known that any alchemist was worthy of being harassed by any family. She, Mo Hongmei, naturally knew the pros and cons, and would definitely think of a way to please him. Ling Xiao smiled and said, "That old fellow has a bad temper. He doesn't want to see anyone other than me. I've let Granny Mo see a joke." Mo Hongmei agreed and said, "That's right. Alchemists are all eccentric and arrogant, so I won't force you. However, you have to sell these 3 bottles of pills to me. In any case, you are going to auction them for money. How about this? I will represent the Luo family and offer 1 million gold coins. What do you think?" 1 million gold coins for 3 bottles of pills was definitely a fair price. There were 10 pills in each bottle. The solid chi pill was worth around 5,000 gold coins, the storm pill was worth around 20,000 gold coins, and the muscle growth pill was worth around 50,000 gold coins. The total price was 750,000 gold coins. Mo Hongmei's offer of 1 million gold coins was reasonable, as the auction price would definitely not be lower than that. Ling Xiao pondered for a moment and said, "Granny Mo, I can't sell these pills to you." When Mo Hongmei heard Ling Xiao's words, she immediately said in a displeased tone, "Grandson-in-law, I will give you another 100,000 gold coins for a total of 1,100,000 gold coins. If you still insist on auctioning them, then forget it." Mo Hongmei originally had a good impression of Ling Xiao. He had reached the mid-level mystic realm at such a young age, and he also had 2 terrifying spirit beasts following him. She could almost foresee that Meteorite City would be Ling Xiao's world in the future, so she had always called Ling Xiao her grandson-in-law. She had planned for her granddaughter to follow Ling Xiao, which could also be considered as leaving a way out for the Luo family. However, now her impression of Ling Xiao had plummeted. It was only 3 bottles of pills, although it was a bit difficult to get, but they could still get a few every year. Now she had offered 1,100,000 gold coins for Ling Xiao to sell them to her Luo family, but he was actually not willing to sell them. She thought that Ling Xiao was too snobbish and couldn't see the situation clearly. If he was unhappy with her because of these 3 bottles of pills, wasn't he afraid that she would stop her granddaughter from being with him? Luo Qingxuang, who was at the side, also said angrily, "Brother Xiao, you are so stingy. I will ignore you from now on." Ling Xiao touched his nose and smiled, "Granny, you misunderstood me. I said that I won't sell these pills to you, but I didn't say that I won't sell anything else." "You still have second-level pills?" Mo Hongmei was stunned and asked. Immediately after, Ling Xiao took out 3 bottles of the same pills as before and said, "Granny, the 3 bottles I showed you just now were of the lowest quality. These 3 bottles are the real good pills." Mo Hongmei snatched it impatiently and opened the lid. A stronger medicinal smell than before wafted out. Inside the bottle, there were round and gentle pills swirling around. It was indeed much better than the ones she had seen before. Although Mo Hongmei wasn't an alchemist, she could still distinguish the quality of these pills from the bad. It's really a good medicine that only a 3rd-grade alchemist can refine. It's even better than the color and medicinal strength of the alchemist in the Spirit Herb Hall. I'll give you 1,500,000 for these 3 bottles. How about selling it to Granny? Mo Hongmei said with slight excitement. Ling Xiao smiled bitterly and shook his head. Just as he was about to speak, Mo Hongmei misunderstood him again and asked, "Do you think it's too little? This price won't be lower than the auction price." Ling Xiao hurriedly said, "Granny, don't be anxious. These 3 bottles of pills are Junior's gift to you. How could I have the nerve to take your gold coins? Aren't you being too polite to me?" He couldn't help but think of a classic saying from his previous life, talking about money hurts feelings. "You're saying that you want to give these 3 bottles of pills to me?" Mo Hongmei asked in disbelief. Ling Xiao nodded and said, "That's right, these 3 bottles are for you. I'll have to trouble you to get someone to auction off the original 3 bottles for me." Shuang's eyes are right. "Then I won't be delicate. I'll tell the auction house not to take any commission from you for the gold coins you get from the auction. Consider it a little gift from Granny." Mo Hongmei's depression was swept away, and the more she looked at Ling Xiao, the more satisfied she was. Luo Qingxuang looked at Ling Xiao even more infatuated. If Ling Xiao really wanted to eat her now, she probably wouldn't hesitate to agree. Ling Xiao chatted with Mo Hongmei for a while longer, then stood up and said goodbye. Luo Qingxuang pouted unwillingly and said, "Brother Xiao, you said you would come to see me. Now that we haven't seen each other for half a year, don't you want to stay with me?" Ling Xiao pinched Luo Qingxuang's cheek and said, "Shuang, be good. When the auction ends tomorrow, I'll accompany you again, okay?" "That's what you said. Don't lie to me, or I'll ignore you from now on." Luo Qingxuang was very happy. "Of course," Ling Xiao replied. Before Ling Xiao and the others left the auction house, the young woman who received them handed a purple card to Ling Xiao. This card represented that Ling Xiao was a top VIP in the Luo family's auction house. Ling Xiao knew that this was a little gift from Mo Hongmei, so he accepted it without hesitation. The reason why he was so generous and gave 3 bottles of pills to Mo Hongmei was because of Luo Qingxuang. No matter what, she was his maid, so he had to treat her well. Another reason was that he wanted to make friends with the Luo family. He had already offended the Li family, so he naturally couldn't make another strong enemy. As the saying went, it was better to have one more friend than one more enemy. He did this for the sake of the future. On the way back to the Ling family, Wei Dyer was not in high spirits. Ling Xiao always teased her, but she only responded with a few cold words. She was completely different from before. Chapter 121. Ling Xiao muttered in his heart, "Could it be that my sister is jealous?" His guess was right. Wei Dyer was indeed jealous, and she was conflicted about whether she should continue to stay by Ling Xiao's side. When they passed by the market, a few people blocked the path of Ling Xiao and the others. The people who came were actually wearing the rusted martial robes with the Li family's insignia. Immediately, the 5 Elements envoy became vigilant. There were a total of 5 people, and although they were all Mystic Realm experts, only one was a high-level Mystic Realm, and there were 1 mid-level Mystic Realm and 3 low-level Mystic Realm. Ling Xiao really couldn't understand why they had the nerve to block their way with such little strength. On Ling Xiao's side, other than himself who was a mid-level Mystic Realm and Wei Dyer who was a low-level Mystic Realm, the others were all high-level Mystic Realm cultivators, and there were 7 of them. Even if the other party had 2 more groups of the same kind of people, he wouldn't be afraid. On the Li family's side, the high-level Mystic Realm cultivator was young and looked to be only about 30 years old. He had a resolute and handsome face, a tall and mighty body, and was half a head taller than Ling Xiao, which was enough for him to kill ordinary girls in an instant. Ling Xiao really didn't expect that there was such a person in the Li family. He felt that this guy was only slightly inferior to him in terms of looks and cultivation. If not for his existence, the title of the most handsome man in Meteorite City would belong to this person in front of him. Brother Ling Dyer. The high-level Mystic Realm cultivator directly ignored Ling Xiao's existence and stared at the Lung Shi siblings behind Ling Xiao. Lung Shi walked out from behind and smiled. "Brother Frenzied Blade, you're doing really well now." At this time, Lone Eagle, who was at the side, whispered into Ling Xiao's ear, "This person is called Frenzied Blade, and he used to be an independent adventurer like me. However, this person is naturally arrogant and has extraordinary strength. He claims to be the #1 blade in Meteorite City, a ruthless character, and also Wei Dyer's pursuer. I didn't expect him to join the Li family." Frenzied Blade replied coldly, "Brother Leng, we are old friends. Today, I once again invite you and Dyer to join our Li family. The patriarch will definitely treat you well." Lung Shi shook his head and refused. "Frenzied Blade, we've already made it very clear before. I appreciate your good intentions, but us siblings already have a place to go. From now on, we can be considered to be doing our own things." Frenzied Sword's expression became gloomy, and he immediately said to Wei Dai, who was behind Ling Xiao, "Dai, are you really not going to consider going with me? You should know how I feel about you. As long as you join the Li family with me, we will be able to live happily in the future. Isn't that what you've always wanted? Rival in love." These 2 words flashed through Ling Xiao's mind, and a ball of suppressed jealousy gradually rose in his heart. Wei Dyer was naturally passionate, but once she met someone she liked, she would inevitably be disturbed and influenced. In the past, among all the men who pursued her, Frenzied Blade was the most handsome and the most powerful one. In her heart, she had already listed Frenzied Blade as a candidate for her future husband. However, later on, she felt that Frenzied Blade was too inflexible and did not understand romance, so she did not agree to be with him. Later on, she met Ling Xiao, and gradually, she was attracted to Ling Xiao's lazy and quick-witted personality. After Ling Xiao saved her from the hands of the illusory demon in the mountain range, she had long developed feelings for Ling Xiao. However, she was also a woman, and all women were selfish. Although she knew that it was not a big deal for a man to have multiple wives and concubines, she still felt very unbalanced when faced with it. Now that Frenzied Blade had invited her, her heart wavered. She wanted to know if there was a place for her in Ling Xiao's heart. "Brother Dao, I don't know what kind of arrangement the Li clan has made for you. Tell me about it first. If it's not bad, I can consider it." Wei Dyer smiled and said in a sweet voice. It seemed that she had regained her usual personality in an instant. However, there was a hint of disappointment in her smile. The 5 Elements envoys beside Ling Xiao all exchanged glances, as if they would immediately kill Wei Dyer if she really wanted to follow the Li clan. Frenzied Blade thought that Wei Dyer really wanted to follow him, and he was immediately overjoyed. He smiled and said, "The clan master has promised me the position of deacon, and I can also go to the Mystic Skill Pavilion to choose any yellow-level mystic skill for me to practice. Naturally, there will be plenty of weapons and pills." Wei Dyer pursed her lips and pretended to think, "Sounds good. Of course, if you are willing, Dyer, I will bring you to see the Patriarch now. At that time, we can be together forever," Frenzied Sword said impatiently. His eyes were filled with strong possessiveness, as if he could already see Wei Dyer under his crotch. Lung Shi stared at Wei Dyer with an ugly expression and said, "Little sister, don't be willful." He had already noticed the expression of the 5 Elements envoys, and if Wei Dyer really chose to follow Frenzied Blade at this moment, she would probably die immediately. "Brother, I have the freedom to choose," Wei Dyer replied, but her eyes were secretly glancing at Ling Xiao who was standing at the side. At this moment, Frenzied Blade spoke again. "That's right, Brother Ling, you should also join the Li clan. Really, the clan master is a great strategist, and he will definitely not mistreat you." Just as Lung Shi was about to speak, Ling Xiao, who was standing at the side, finally started to fly into a rage. Damn it, he actually dared to steal his woman in front of him. This was really intolerable. "A good dog doesn't block the way. Stop barking here, my ears are already growing calluses from your scolding," Ling Xiao scolded and even made a disgusting gesture of digging out his earwax. This was really a great insult and contempt to Frenzied Blade. Frenzied Blade clenched his fists tightly and stared at Ling Xiao with his eyes wide open, a formless murderous aura rising from him. The 5 Elements envoys immediately spread out and stood in front of Ling Xiao, just in case. Ling Xiao pushed aside the 5 Elements envoys and looked at Frenzied Blade. "You're just a dog, I don't care about you." "Mph, a spoiled brat," Frenzied Blade snorted coldly, and then said to Wei Dyer, "Dyer, let's go, this kind of spoiled brat is really not worth following." "That's right, I'm a spoiled brat, but you're a dog, and a dog like you is not fit to touch my woman," Ling Xiao replied straightforwardly. After saying that, he took a step back and directly wrapped his arms around Wei Dyer's slender waist. Wei Dyer wanted to struggle, but she felt that his strong and powerful hand did not loosen at all, and the unhappiness in her heart seemed to have disappeared in an instant. The phrase, "this young master's woman," echoed in her mind. A strange feeling of sweetness flowed in her heart. Frenzied Blade immediately went berserk, and the heavy blade on his back was instantly unsheathed. He pointed at Ling Xiao and shouted, "Let go of Dyer, or else I'll kill you." He had liked Wei Dyer for a long time, and now that his beloved woman was being hugged by someone else, he would not be a man if he did not get angry. Ha! When Ling Xiao heard Frenzied Blade's words, not only did he not get angry, but he also laughed very loudly, as if he was very happy. "I think there's something wrong with your brain. When did you have the right to order my woman around?" Ling Xiao said very disdainfully, and he hugged Wei Dyer even tighter. If you have the guts, fight me one-on-one. If I win, Dyer will leave with me, and if you lose, you won't pester Dyer anymore." Frenzied Blade pointed at Ling Xiao and shouted. Although he really wanted to kill this spoiled brat in front of him, he also knew that the other party had the advantage in numbers, and each of them had extraordinary strength. If they really fought, he would only die. Therefore, he wanted to provoke Ling Xiao's anger. He believed that a person with the reputation of being a genius of Meteor City would not be a coward. As long as Ling Xiao was willing to fight with him, he would risk his life to kill Ling Xiao, and when he returned to the clan, he would have made a great contribution. After all, everyone knew about the grudge between the Li family and Ling Xiao. Young master, Lone Eagle is willing to wait for you to fight. Lone Eagle immediately bowed and said, now that his strength had greatly increased, and he had condensed a few strands of Wind baleful chi, he believed that he could defeat Frenzied Blade. A spoiled brat is indeed a spoiled brat. It turns out that the genius of Meteor City is just a coward. I've finally seen it for myself, Frenzied Blade said sarcastically. How dare you? The 5 Elements envoys shouted at the same time, and they immediately rushed forward to teach this madman a lesson. Ling Xiao shouted, come back. The 5 Elements envoys unwillingly retreated behind Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao let go of Wei Dyer, took 2 steps forward, and said with a smile, your method of provoking me is not bad. I admit that you have successfully angered me. I can fight you one-on-one, but my woman is not a commodity that can be looked at. If I lose, my life will be yours, and you can go back to the Li family to claim credit. I believe that they will reward you handsomely. He paused for a moment, glanced at Wei Dyer, and said, also, if Dyer wants to leave with you as long as she is willing, no one will stop her. Wei Dyer, who was at the side, trembled slightly. She could tell that Ling Xiao was angry, and she did not know why she wanted to apologize to him. However, it was as if something was stuck in her throat, and she could not speak. All right, you said it yourself. Today, I will show you what true strength is. Frenzied Blade's aura exploded, and a golden radiance appeared. The heavy saber in his hand was glittering with a golden light. It was obvious that Frenzied Blade was a metal attribute martial artist. He believed that Ling Xiao had only achieved his current strength because of the Ling family's strong nurturing. He knew that those martial artists who relied on medicinal pills to advance had unstable foundations, and their strength was much weaker than those who broke through on their own. Moreover, Ling Xiao was only a mid-level mystic cultivator, and it would be easy for him to defeat Ling Xiao. To deal with a dog from the Li family, I will let you use your weapon. Ling Xiao's body shook, and the saber and sword on his back instantly landed in the hands of One Eagle. Young master, you must not be careless. The 5 Elements envoys immediately reminded him. They were worried for Ling Xiao, and if something were to happen to Ling Xiao, they would not be able to explain it to the clan leader and the Grand Elder. Ling Xiao waved his hand lightly and said, today, I will let you see how I teach a dog a lesson. Frenzied Blade had been scolded as a dog by Ling Xiao again and again, and he had long been suppressing his anger. He shouted, you are courting death. At the same time, the golden saber in his hand slashed towards Ling Xiao. The golden saber was like the sun, and it emitted a cold aura. Frenzied Blade claimed to be the #1 saber in Meteorite City, and his strength was indeed unique. Wei Dyer, who was at the side, began to regret, and she shouted, little brother, be careful. At this time, Lung Shi was also worried for Ling Xiao. He felt that Ling Xiao was too arrogant. There was already a gap between their strengths, and now that he had put down his weapon, he felt that Ling Xiao would definitely lose. Chapter 122. It wasn't easy for him to follow Ling Xiao, but he didn't expect Ling Xiao to be so impulsive. This made Ling Shi waver. But very quickly, his wavering mind became firm again. Would Ling Xiao underestimate the enemy? Was he arrogant and conceited? Of course not. He could become a super master in his previous life because he never underestimated any opponent. What he was doing now was a reflection of his confidence. He was already a middle-level mystic cultivator. It wasn't difficult for him to deal with a high-level mystic cultivator. At the same time, he wanted to let some people know that he, Ling Xiao, was definitely not someone that a cat or a dog could deal with. A normal martial artist without a weapon was like a tiger without its teeth. Nothing to be afraid of. But Ling Xiao was not only good with knives and swords. His fists, palms, and legs were not much worse than swords and knives. Just as Frenzied Blade's golden blade was about to slash his face, Ling Xiao started to move. As fast as lightning, his attack was like the wind. It wasn't an exaggeration to use these words to describe Ling Xiao's movements at this moment. Toppling the mountains and overturning the seas. Ling Xiao took a step and went to Frenzied Blade's side. He immediately used the fourth style of the cloud-expelling palm. The palm technique was like a shadow, and the flames were frighteningly hot. Bang bang! Frenzied Blade was sent flying by Ling Xiao in one move. Ling Xiao naturally wouldn't let go of the opportunity to beat a dog when it was down. He shouted, "You think you can be arrogant just because you're a dog of the Li family? I'll King beat you into a pig's head." Ling Xiao was angry, and the consequences of his anger were very serious. Damn it, he actually dared to steal his corner right in front of him, and he seemed to be even more ferocious than him. He naturally wouldn't let Frenzied Blade have it easy. He wanted everyone to know that he was just a good-looking but useless guy. Ling Xiao's palm attack was merciless, all aimed at Frenzied Blade's handsome face. But Frenzied Blade didn't even have a chance to react. He only felt like he was in the middle of a storm. There was no room for resistance, and he was beaten until he didn't know what to do. The five elements envoys, the cold snake siblings, and the martial artists of the Li family were all shocked by the angry Ling Xiao. What kind of strength was this? With one move, he could beat a high-level Shen cultivator to the point that he couldn't even fight back. Even a spirit master's strength was only SOSO. "I'll fight it out with you." Frenzied Sword gritted his teeth and slashed at Ling Xiao's waist, hoping to force Ling Xiao to leave him so that he would have a chance to counterattack. How could Ling Xiao let him do as he wished? He activated Wind God's kick. Bang! Violent golden shadows of her legs stomped toward Frenzied Sword's chest. Poo pew! Frenzied Blade flew backward and spat out a few mouthfuls of blood in midair. The fresh blood was like a flower, as beautiful as the summer flowers. "Now you know, I'll kill you like a dog." Ling Xiao arrived in front of Frenzied Sword, grabbed Frenzied Sword's neck with one hand, and lifted his mighty body up. Frenzied Sword was not dead yet, but he felt worse than death. He thought that with his high-level strength, it would be easy to kill this spoiled brat. However, he didn't expect Yi Futian to be so strong. Before he knew what was going on, he was beaten up by Yi Futian. Now, his life was in Yi Futian's hands, which made him feel extremely embarrassed. Moreover, the woman he liked was right in front of him. He was originally a proud and prideful person, but now, all his confidence was completely destroyed. "Brother, please spare his life." Wei Dyer's heart softened. After all, Frenzied Sword treated her well in the past, and she couldn't bear to see Frenzied Sword die because of her. Ling Xiao frowned and looked at Wei Dai. Then he swung Frenzied Sword, and at the same time, his expression tensed. Formless mental strength turned into needles and quietly attacked Frenzied Sword's consciousness. Suddenly, Frenzied Sword, who was like a dead dog, hugged his head and rolled on the ground, screaming in pain. Frenzied Sword's appearance was very frightening, and the deacons of the Li clan were shocked. For a moment, no one dared to help him up. The few people behind Ling Xiao had very interesting expressions on their faces. The Five Elements messengers couldn't help but admire their young master's methods. They knew that their young master's fighting ability was far above theirs. Lone Eagle was the only one who wasn't surprised by what Ling Xiao had done. This was because he had seen his young master's methods of killing people who were of a higher level than him in the mountain range. He felt that Frenzied Sword was obviously looking for death. He thought to himself, "I'm afraid that only Elder Gao, who is at the martial teacher level, can stop young master. Let's go back." Ling Xiao didn't even look at Frenzied Sword, who had turned into an idiot, and led the group back to the clan. Lung Shi felt sorry for Frenzied Sword. He knew that Frenzied Sword would stop here for the rest of his life. At the same time, he was also worried about his sister. He felt that his sister had begged for mercy for Frenzied Sword, and he was afraid that Ling Xiao would be unhappy. How could Wei Dyer not feel uneasy? She only wanted to test if Ling Xiao had a place for her in his heart. She had tested it out, but she spoke up for Frenzied Sword in the end. This was obviously causing Ling Xiao to misunderstand her. "Forget it, he's just a playboy, what's the big deal?" Wei Dyer was a girl after all, and she couldn't bring herself to explain to Ling Xiao, so she comforted herself in her heart. Ling Xiao returned home and arranged a room for Leng Shi and Wei Dyer. Then, he gave a few instructions to Lone Eagle and went to cultivate alone. At night, Wei Dyer lay on the bed alone and couldn't sleep. Frenzied Sword was carried back to the clan by his companions. Looking at Frenzied Sword, who looked like a dead dog, Li Qianzhong frowned and asked faintly, "Who beat Deacon Dao up like this?" Currently, the Li clan was in need of manpower. Frenzied Sword had a certain reputation in Meteorite City, and he had sought refuge with the Li clan some time ago. When Li Qianzhong first saw Frenzied Sword, he felt that he was not bad. At such a young age, he had actually reached the cultivation level of a high-level mystic cultivator. Among the three big clans, there weren't many in the younger generation who could advance as fast as him. Li Qianzhong felt that Frenzied Sword's cultivation level was definitely not weak. If he broke through to the Spirit Master level in the future, it shouldn't be the Dao querying level. At that time, the Li clan would have one more general, who knew that Frenzied Sword would be seriously injured by someone not long after joining the Li clan. It seemed that even his confidence had been destroyed. If he couldn't get rid of the demons in his heart, the Mystic Knight level would be his limit. Li Qianzhong still didn't know that Frenzied Sword's consciousness had already been injured by Ling Xiao, and that he would be a cripple in the future. The deacon of the Li clan told Li Qianzhong what had happened today. Li Qianzhong waved his hand and asked someone to bring Frenzied Sword away. He squinted his eyes in the hall, and a strong killing intent appeared in his old eyes. "Brat, I'll let you run wild for another half a month. After that, I'll let you know what it means to have your family destroyed." Li Qianzhong muttered to himself. The only auction house in Meteorite City, the Luo clan auction house. It would be held every month in the middle of the month. At the same time, the Luo clan would invite all the famous people in Meteorite City to participate, and there would also be many people with gold coins who would come to see if there was a chance to get something good. Anything that could be auctioned off was naturally not ordinary, or else there would be no need to put it up for auction. Early in the morning, all the famous people in Meteorite City walked into the auction. Of course, there were also many representatives from small clans and some famous mercenaries who came to participate. Even if they couldn't get anything from the auction, it would be good to broaden their horizons. Not everyone could enter the auction. Apart from the top VIPs of the auction, everyone had to first pay 1,000 gold coins to enter. Those who wanted a private room had to pay 10,000 gold coins. This kind of fee could prevent many commoners from coming in to watch the show for free. As more and more people came in, the auction gradually became more lively. Have you heard? This time, the Luo clan has gathered quite a few good things to auction. It's said that there are low-tier third-level spirit herbs. Teach, what's so surprising about that? In previous years, there were also mid-tier third-level spirit herbs that appeared in the auction. This is my first time here, so I'm not familiar with it. I wonder if there are any profound artifacts in this auction? Are you stupid? If there really were profound artifacts, I'm afraid that the Luo clan would have bought them first. They definitely wouldn't have taken them out to auction. I really don't know how you managed to sneak into the auction. Look, it's the people from the Lan clan. At the entrance of the auction, the Lan clan's Lan Dingshan walked in with a young girl and a few guards. The Lan clan and the Li clan had formed an alliance, and the Lan clan's status had risen from high to high. Right now, the Lan clan was faintly moving towards the ranks of a large clan. However, if they wanted to truly step into the ranks of a large clan, they would still need time to settle down and accumulate. It wasn't something that could be done overnight. The Li clan is here too. Following that, another middle-aged man appeared at the entrance. He was accompanied by a young man and a few guards. The person who had come was the second son of the Li clan's patriarch, Li Yuanhua. Standing beside him was Li Guangyin, who had been taught a lesson by Ling Xiao. Who would have thought that after a year, this fellow would go from a level 8 martial disciple to a low-level profound practitioner? Brother Yuanhua, how is Brother Yuanlong? Lan Dingshan immediately went forward to greet Li Yuanhua. Li Yuanhua smiled and said, "Thank you for your concern, Brother Lan. My big brother is doing well." "That's good. In the future, I will personally pay a visit to Brother Yuanlong and Brother Yuanhua. I hope that your clan will soon dominate Meteorite City," Lan Dingshan said in a low voice. Ah, of course. Brother Lan, please. Li Yuanhua was obviously very happy. He made a gesture of invitation and walked towards the VIP box with Lan Dingshan. Li Guangyin looked at the slender and elegant young girl beside Lan Dingshan and couldn't suppress his nature. He kept fawning over the young girl and tried to curry favor with her. However, the young girl didn't seem to be interested in Li Guangyin. Every time she answered, she would only respond in a very subtle manner. In Li Guangyin's eyes, this kind of girl seemed to have an internal letter, which made him even more determined to get his hands on this girl. Following the arrival of the Li and Lan families, the Ling family also came. The representative of the Ling family was the fifth elder's son, Ling Chong. He was the Ling family's general manager and was in charge of the finances. Ling Chong had also brought someone with him. Needless to say, it was his youngest son, Ling Ru. Ling Chong put on a handsome face and went straight to the VIP box. As the time for the auction approached, the auction house was already packed with people. At this time, the young female auctioneer who had received Ling Xiao and the others yesterday walked into the field. Behind her were two maids who were carrying auction items covered with red cloth. Chapter 123. The young woman was dressed very flirtatiously today, and her clothes were very hot and dazzling. The moment she entered, she attracted the attention of the men present, and waves of screams resounded throughout the auction house. The young woman stroked her bangs and revealed a bright smile. Welcome everyone to this auction. We are all old friends, and I believe you all know the rules of the auction, and that is, any item auction will go to the highest bidder. Now, let us begin the auction of today's first item, upper second-tier gentleman's sword. The maidservant beside the young woman removed the red cloth, and a 1.5-meter-long sword appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The pure white scabbard shone, and on the hilt was a purple crystal the size of a thumb. There were no other extravagant decorations, and just by looking at its simple and elegant appearance, it indeed had the demeanor of a gentleman. This sword was made by the master refiner, Master Li, and belongs to the best of the upper second-tier swords. The starting price is 50,000 gold coins, and each increment must be no less than 500 gold coins. The young woman pointed at the gentleman's sword and said again. As soon as the young woman finished speaking, a young man from a small family called out, I bid 5,500 gold coins. I bid 51,000 gold coins. In another direction, another young man from a small family called out, 51,000 gold coins. The first young man called out, unwilling to be outdone, 52,000 gold coins. As the bidding began, a few more people followed, and the price was getting higher and higher. In the Ling family's box, Ling Rui also had his eyes on the sword in front of him, and begged his father, Dad, what do you think of this sword? Ling Chong closed his eyes and said indifferently, unless you can break through to the mystic realm, don't think of using such a high-grade sword for the rest of your life. Ling Rui said embarrassedly, I mean, buying it for Big Brother is not bad. Didn't Big Brother just break through to the mystic realm? Ling Chong snorted coldly and did not continue speaking. On the Li family's side, Li Yuanhua felt that this sword was not bad. His eldest son had also just broken through to the mystic realm, and was worried about not having a weapon to use. This sword seemed to be suitable. He whispered to Li Guangyin, who was beside him. Li Guangling happily shouted, Our Li family bids 100,000 gold coins. As soon as he said this, everyone became silent. No one dared to compete with the Li clan. Is there anyone else who wants to raise the price? If not, then this sword belongs to the young master of the Li family, the young woman yelled out. However, she knew that once the Li family or the Ling family spoke up, very few people would dare to bid. Just as the young woman was about to close the deal, a voice called out from another VIP booth, My young master bids 150,000 gold coins. As soon as these words came out, everyone in the auction house was in an uproar. None of them had expected that someone would dare to provoke the Li family. Who's in booth 8? He actually dares to compete with the Li family? He shouldn't be from the Ling family, right? Could he be someone from outside the city? Otherwise, he wouldn't dare to compete with the Li family. There will always be people who have eaten the heart of a bear or the guts of a leopard. Li Guanyin, who was in the Li family's box, was so angry that he didn't wait for his father to speak and shouted again, "The Li family bids 200,000 gold coins." Li Yuanhua frowned and wanted to say something, but in the end he didn't say anything. With the Li family's foundation, they still had high-grade second-grade swords. He wanted to auction this sword as a gift for his son, but he hadn't expected someone to jump out and bid. It was clear that the Li family was not in their eyes, and killing intent rose in his heart. At this time, Booth 8 once again called out, "My young master bids 210,000 gold coins." "Damn it, I bid 250,000 gold coins." Li Guanyin immediately increased the price without hesitation. At this time, Li Yuanhua angrily shouted, "Enough, it's not worth it for a sword." Unfortunately, it was already too late for him to shout. As expected, after Li Guanyin called out, Booth 8 stopped bidding, and the noble sword went to the Li family. This angered Li Yuanhua so much that he almost kicked Li Guanyin away. A high-grade second-grade sword was extraordinary, but it wasn't worth this price. This time, he had become a sucker, and the other families would laugh at him behind his back. The auction continued, and the second item was a blue armor. The woman introduced it as a 1,000-year silk from a high-grade second-grade silk beast. It could block attacks from high-grade second-grade weapons without being destroyed, and the starting price was 80,000 gold coins. This armor isn't bad. In Booth 8, a white-robed youth looked at the armor in the middle of the auction. Armor was extremely rare, and someone had already raised the price to 150,000 gold coins. Over at the Lan family's side, the girl Lan Dingshan had brought also had her eyes on the armor. "Yenna, if you like it, I'll help you bid for it." Lan Dingshan revealed a loving smile as he looked at his daughter. The girl smiled, "Thank you, Daddy." "Silly girl, you're Daddy's flesh and blood, what are you thanking me for?" Lan Dingshan rubbed the girl's head. He then ordered his guards to participate in the bidding. The girl's heart was filled with gratitude, but she also knew that the person her father cared about the most wasn't her, but her older brother, Lan Guangxing. It was only after her brother had been killed that her father started to pay attention to her. "Don't worry, Daddy, I'll definitely avenge my brother," the girl silently said in her heart. Because of the Lan family's intervention, the armor had already reached a high price of 200,000 gold coins. "My young master bids 250,000 gold coins." At this time, another voice called out from Booth 8. This time, everyone in the auction was even more curious about the mysterious young master in Booth 8. Just which family's young master was this, to actually cause the Li family to lose face, and now he was going against the Lan family. Another bid came from the Lan family booth, 260,000 gold coins. Room 8 quickly followed suit and increased the price. Not long after, the bid from Booth 8 reached a high price of 300,000 gold coins. This time, the Lan family didn't raise the price, and the armor went to Booth 8. In the Lan family booth, Lan Dingshan was so angry that his face turned green. Just where did this wild brat come from? He actually dares to cause both our Li and Lan families to lose face at the same time. Men, watch the exit of Booth 8. Once the auction is over, immediately get rid of him. "Sir." The two guards immediately responded and left the booth. "Yenna, don't worry. Once the auction is over, that armor will still be yours," Lan Dingshan comforted his daughter. The girl didn't look disappointed at all, instead obediently replying, "Thank you, Daddy." On the other side, Li Yuanhua also called for guards to monitor Booth 8. It had only just begun, but Booth 8 already attracted everyone's attention. From the very beginning, Booth 8 attracted everyone's attention. However, as more and more premium weapons were auctioned, everyone's attention was focused on the auction. There was no more movement from Booth 8, so no one paid it too much attention. There were a total of 12 weapons in the first round, all of which were high-tier 2 premium weapons. Most of them were won by smaller families, and the Ling and Li families didn't participate in the bidding. Instead, it was the Lan family who won a spear and a blade. The Ling and Li families had a strong foundation, and ordinary second-tier weapons didn't even enter their eyes. However, the smaller families were different. They were still in the process of accumulating power, and they needed a few high-tier weapons to stabilize their foundation in the future. After the weapons were auctioned, it was time to auction spirit herbs. Spirit herbs were precious items that all families, big or small, lacked, so the bidding for them was even more intense than the weapons. Any cultivator who wanted to advance quickly needed spirit herbs or pills to aid their cultivation. As long as they could obtain spirit herbs that matched their own attributes, they could advance their cultivation. This was what everyone wanted. The first item to be auctioned was 2 mid-tier second-tier fire tribute spirit herbs, starting at 10,000 gold coins. In the end, a small family bid 80,000 gold coins for it. Following that, as more and more spirit herbs were auctioned, the atmosphere gradually rose. The Ling and Li families all made their moves, and even the host family, the Luo family, also came out to bid. Although the auction was the Luo family's territory, the seller didn't sell to them at the start, so the Luo family couldn't do anything about it. They couldn't forcefully take someone else's item, as that would break the rules. Thus, if they wanted to obtain it, they had to compete with other families. As time passed by, the auction gradually came to an end, and the items that were auctioned became rarer and rarer. The next item to be auctioned is the second-tier high-tier spirit herb, green hairy ear. I believe everyone knows the effects of the green hairy ear. It is a wood attribute spirit herb and can be used as medicine. Mystic Realm cultivators can use it to increase their cultivation by 1 level, and Mystic Realm cultivators can use it to increase their understanding of the wood attribute and increase their cultivation by half a level. The starting price is 150,000 gold coins. The young lady pointed at a strange spirit herb and introduced. Just as the young lady made her bid, Ling Chong, who was in the Ling family's box, eagerly shouted, "Our Ling family bids 200,000 gold coins." Ling Chong's family all cultivated the wood attribute, and now that they encountered a spirit herb of the same attribute, they naturally wouldn't let it go. As long as he obtained this green hairy ear spirit herb, he could raise his cultivation to the peak of the mystic realm, and breaking through to the spirit master level was just around the corner. However, everyone in the auction knew how precious the green hairy ear was. The Ling family was the big family in Meteorite City, but under the absolute charm, some of the smaller families couldn't care less. Very quickly, the price of the green hairy ear rose to 300,000 gold coins. Following that, the Li family and the Lan family joined the ranks of the auction. In the 8th box, a white-clothed youth wasn't too interested in the green hairy ear. He just closed his eyes and rested on the couch, as if nothing had anything to do with him. "Little friend, wake up. Can you help me get that green needle root?" In the youth's sea of consciousness, a small tree sent a message to the youth. "Green needle root? What's that?" The youth asked in confusion. Needless to say, this youth was Ling Xiao, who had come to participate in the auction. In his sea of consciousness was the 10,000-year tree spirit, Lu Weng. Right now, you humans are fighting over the green spirit herb. It's not a green hairy ear, but a green needle root. It's very useful to me. Lu Weng's tone was very urgent. It seemed that he was very interested in the spirit herb. Chapter 124. Ling Xiao wasn't in a hurry to act. Furthermore, he didn't even know if he had enough gold coins to buy this spirit plant. "Can you first tell me what this green needle root is?" Previously, when Ling Xiao had been in danger many times in the mountain range, Lu Weng hadn't appeared no matter how many times he called out to him. But now, for this spirit plant, Lu Weng had taken the initiative to appear. This spirit plant definitely had something astonishing about it. He had searched through the catalog of spirit plants and hadn't found a green needle root. Green needle root is a kind of root known as a needle tree. This kind of tree is extremely rare, but it is very different from ordinary trees. That's because it is shorter than weeds, but its roots are very special. They are hair-like, very similar to the green hairy ear. Although it is a wood attribute spirit plant, it cannot be directly consumed. If it is consumed directly, I'm afraid that the person who consumes it will immediately be pierced by 10,000 needles and die. Furthermore, it doesn't have much use for you human cultivators, Lu Weng explained. Then why did you come here? Ling Xiao didn't understand. Little friend, don't forget that I am a 10,000-year tree spirit. I need to absorb its spiritual qi to recover my essence energy. So little friend, you must obtain it, Lu Weng pleaded. Ling Xiao pondered for a moment. The price outside had already reached 400,000 gold coins. This little thing isn't easy to obtain. If I want to obtain it, I'll have to pay a high price. If I can obtain it, I wonder what reward you will give me? For example, a 10,000-year tree root or 10,000-year tree fruit. Ling Xiao could naturally hear that Lu Weng urgently needed this green needle root, so he wanted to ask for something good from him. Lu Weng unhappily said, "Little friend, don't be so greedy. I've already saved your life twice. You don't even know how much of my essence energy you've wasted." "That's true, but you'll naturally have to pay a bit of rent for staying in my consciousness." "You saved my life, so that'll count as rent," Ling Xiao lazily said. "All right, as long as you obtain the green needle root, I promise to give you a drop of 10,000-year tree sap," Lu Weng reluctantly agreed. "All right, as long as you obtain the green needle root, I promise to give you a drop of 10,000-year tree sap," Lu Weng reluctantly agreed. However, Ling Xiao didn't know that he had been tricked by Lu Weng this time. Ling Xiao immediately ordered the solitary eagle, "Regardless of the price, solitary eagle has to buy this spirit grass for me." "But, young master, where do we get so many gold coins?" Lone Eagle asked puzzledly. "Don't worry about it. Just name your price," Ling Xiao said. Without another word, Lone Eagle raised the price to 500,000 gold coins. This time, room number 8 attracted everyone's attention again. Everyone was wondering who exactly was in booth number 8. How could he be so rich and overbearing? Moreover, he even dared to openly bid against the people from the 3 great clans. Preposterous! He's clearly not putting our Ling family in his eyes. Ling Chong shouted angrily from within the Ling family's private room. Originally, he was displeased that the Li family had joined the bidding, but the Li family and the Ling family were both large families, so they naturally did not fear him. But who was this person in box 8? He had offended both the Li family and the Lan family, and now he still dared to go against the Ling family? He must be tired of living. 510,000 gold coins. Ling Chong shouted loudly. This green-haired man was not someone he could meet often. If he didn't bid for it, he would regret it to death. However, this price was ridiculously high. If the other party raised the price to 550,000 gold coins, he would definitely not dare to raise the price. Now, the Li family did not dare to bid anymore. 500,000 gold coins to buy a wood attribute spirit grass was clearly not worth it to them. With Ling Zhao's instructions, Lone Eagle immediately continued to raise the price. When the price reached 600,000 gold coins, Ling Chong sat down on the soft couch within the Ling family's private room. It was obvious that he did not have the strength to compete with the other party. Although he was the Ling family's chief steward and could allocate a portion of the gold coins, if he used a few 100,000 gold coins to buy a spirit grass that he wanted, that would be a misuse of the family's finances. Without the approval of the elders, he could not continue to be the chief steward, so he could only choose to give up. However, he was unwilling to give up. If he wanted something, no one could even think about taking it away. Ling Rui, who was at the side, said, "Father, why don't you let me bring some people over too?" At this point, Ling Rui made a killing gesture. Ling Chong calmed his anger and said, "This is the Luo family's land, we cannot be impulsive. First, let someone monitor it. Once we leave the auction, immediately let the people over there know the consequences of offending me, Ling Chong." In private room number 8, Ling Xiao was completely unaware that he had already aroused the killing intent of others. He was only thinking to himself, "These things are really burning money. I wonder if my 3 bottles of pills can be auctioned for 1,000,000. Otherwise, it won't be enough to pay off the debt." The soft armor was 300,000 gold coins, and the green needles were 600,000 gold coins. In total, it was 900,000 gold coins. Of course, Ling Xiao did not have that many gold coins right now. His original intention was to wait until his pills were auctioned, and then deduct the gold coins from the auction. Next up is the finale of this auction. Is everyone ready? The young woman's beautiful eyes turned, revealing a flirtatious smile. After keeping everyone in suspense, she said loudly, "The next auction item is a bottle of high-grade first-stage qi strengthening pills, a bottle of low-grade second-stage storm pills, and a bottle of mid-grade muscle growth pills. There are a total of 30 pills in 3 bottles, and they will be auctioned together. The starting price is 700,000 gold coins, and each bid must not be lower than 50,000 gold coins. Please bid." As soon as the young woman's words fell, it immediately caused an uproar. In a year, the Luo family only auctioned pills once or twice, and the number of pills they auctioned was far less than this time. It was actually 3 bottles being auctioned together, and this caused many families to go crazy. The qi strengthening pill could increase the chances of a martial disciple breaking through to the profound realm. It was suitable for the younger generation and could help the family cultivate a few more talents. The storm pill didn't sound very valuable, but it became very popular as the competition approached. During the competition, any martial artist could use the pill to compete, and with the storm pill, it could increase the speed of the family's martial artists. This would give them more confidence in the competition, and the muscle growth pill was used to save lives, so it was worth it to bid for it in case of emergency. The price of these 3 bottles of pills quickly rose to 850,000 gold coins. However, Ling Xiao himself was very dissatisfied. Solitary Eagle, raise the price higher. When will it end if you keep bidding like this? Solitary Eagle asked. Then how much is appropriate? 1 million, Ling Xiao said casually. His purpose in doing this was, of course, to raise the price of his pills, so that those clans that didn't have the strength to scram first, and let the big clans bid for it. He believed that there would definitely be people who would surpass his price, so that he would have enough gold coins to pay for the 2 things he bid for. My family's young master bids 1 million gold coins. Solitary Eagle followed Ling Xiao's instructions and immediately participated in the bidding. As expected, some of the smaller families revealed expressions of despair and gave up bidding. They didn't have the strength to do so. 1,100,000. Lan Dingshan from the Lan family called out. 1,200,000. Ling Chong from the Ling family called out. 1,500,000. Li Yuanhua from the Li family called out. 1,600,000. There was still a small family that stubbornly called out. However, it was quickly drowned out. In the end, the Ling and Li families bid together, and the 3 bottles of pills were auctioned for 2 million gold coins, which was won by Li Yuanhua from the Li family. After the pills were auctioned off by the Li family, the auction came to an end, but it was also the climax. This was because any auction would put the best items at the end, which was the highlight of the auction. The next item to be auctioned is one of the last 2 items of the day. Is everyone ready? This is a rare item that only appears once a year, the young woman said, keeping everyone in suspense. The people in the auction house became anxious. Usually, the last item was definitely the best. Hurry up and announce what it is. Stop blabbering. Yeah, hurry up and bring it up. Could it be a high-level spirit grass or a profound weapon? Everyone can't wait any longer, so I'll announce the next item. Low-rank 3 rhinoceros beast, the young woman announced. Immediately after, a few profound practitioners carried an extremely large carcass of a spirit beast into the auction house. Everyone cried out in shock. It's the carcass of a rank 3 spirit beast. It's too big. A low rank 3 rhinoceros beast, its most precious horn is not damaged, and there's definitely a beast core inside. How extravagant! I wonder who had the ability to kill this rhinoceros beast. This fellow is a metal-type spirit beast, and its attack power is extremely terrifying. Normal spirit masters don't have this ability. Everyone began to discuss again. The rhinoceros beast's horn could be used to refine pills, and the beast core was the most important material to refine profound weapons. Moreover, other than the parts of the rhinoceros beast that were damaged, its skin, bones, and tendons were still valuable. I won't say much about the value of this rank 3 rhinoceros beast. The starting price is 1 million gold coins, and each increment must be no less than 100,000 gold coins. Everyone please bid. The young woman smiled. 1 million gold coins. This caused many small clans and mercenaries to suck in a breath of cold air. This time, they could only sigh in hope. I bid 1,200,000 gold coins. A loud voice sounded from the sixth room. This was the first time the person in the room had called out a price. When Ling Xiao heard this voice, he felt that it was very familiar. He pondered for a moment and seemed to remember something. He then said to himself, "So Uncle Li also came to participate in the auction." After the sixth room called out a price, the Li clan also began to call out a price of 1,500,000 gold coins. Immediately after, the price war began intensely. 1,600,000 gold coins. 1,700,000 gold coins. The price continued to climb, and very quickly, it surpassed 2 million gold coins. In the end, the sixth room bought the rhinoceros beast's corpse for 3,500,000 gold coins. In the sixth room was the son of Meteorite City's chief blacksmith master, Li Yang. Half a year ago, after Ling Xiao helped him expel the yang poison, his entire person glowed with youth. He was originally 38 years old, but now he looked like a 30-year-old man. His eyes were bright and full of expression, and it was obvious that his cultivation had improved. He looked at the rhinoceros beast that he bought and said to himself, "I have the metal attribute beast core. As long as I find the 1,000-year black mysterious iron, I can make a profound weapon for my benefactor." Chapter 125. The last item was auctioned. The next item is 2 stalks of level 3 low spirit grass. Can everyone guess what kind of spirit grass this is? The young woman said as she took off the red cloth covering the item. Inside the crystal cabinet were 2 stalks of beautiful purple and red flowers. These were obviously 2 spirit flowers. These 2 spirit flowers were a few times bigger than normal flowers and looked a bit like a morning glory flower. However, the petals were dotted with colorful patterns, making them look extremely enchanting and alluring. This is a 7-colored magic flower. Seeing the spirit flowers, someone immediately cried out, "Impossible! This is definitely not a 7-colored magic flower. A 7-colored magic flower has 7 different colored petals, and these 2 spirit flowers have the same color. It's just that there are more patterns on the petals and they look similar to the 7-colored magic flower." Then what kind of spirit grass is this? Level 3 spirit grass is very rare. Did someone enter the depths of the mountain range? Stop guessing, quickly tell us what kind of spirit grass it is. Yeah, don't waste everyone's time. The young woman saw that the crowd was making a ruckus and immediately smiled sweetly. "This is a level 3 pattern flower." "It really is a pattern flower, I should have guessed it earlier." A mercenary shouted excitedly. As soon as he said this, many people immediately pointed their middle fingers at him and looked down on him. The pattern flower was a level 3 low spirit grass. Its effect was very special. When a martial artist below the spirit master level consumed the pattern flower, a spirit tattoo would appear on their arm. It would allow a martial artist to have wood attribute dark force for a short period of time and increase their arm strength by 10 times. At first glance, the effect didn't seem to be very good, but those who were knowledgeable would know that this was definitely a good thing. In a battle between cultivators, an additional element would mean a different type of attack. This was especially true when encountering an element that countered it. After taking the patterned flower, one would have a wood element attack, making it much easier to win. Furthermore, the 10-fold increase in arm strength was absolutely terrifying. If one could only lift a boulder that weighed 500 G normally, after taking the patterned flower, one would be able to lift a boulder that weighed 10,000 G, reaching the strength of 10,000 G. At that time, even stronger opponents would have to retreat. Even so, the patterned flower's value couldn't compare to the level 3 rhinoceros beast. Luckily, there were 2 patterned flowers being auctioned together, so the starting price was set at 1 million gold coins. Ling Chong didn't get anything out of the green fur ears, level 2 medicinal pills, and level 3 horned rhinoceros beast. Now that the patterned flower was the last item, he swore that he would get it no matter what the price was. Otherwise, his Ling family would lose all face. The young woman had just made her bid when Ling Chong impatiently raised the price to 1 million gold coins, hoping to scare his opponent. The Li clan's Li. The Li of the Li clan flower. He did not expect that the Luo family, who had been quiet all this while, would also join the bidding. 3 Li 2. When Ling Chong raised the price to 3 million gold coins, the Li and Luo families both gave up. Is there anyone else who is offering a higher price than me? Ling Chong said proudly in the private room. He was determined to get his hands on this patterned flower because it also had the effect of purifying wood attribute warriors. This effect was not as obvious as the one mentioned before, but it was real. Ling Chong was determined to get his hands on the patterned flower. Just as the 3 hammers were about to strike, a voice called out from booth 8, "My young master bids 5 million gold coins." What? This bid immediately caused everyone to exclaim in surprise. Who is the kid inside? He's willing to spend so much money on these 2 pattern flowers. Does he have so much money that he doesn't know where to spend it? That's right. He's even going against the Ling family. There'll be a good show to watch after the auction. Who knows? Since he dares to challenge the Ling family and the Li family, he must have an expert. In the Li family's box, Li Yuanhua laughed happily. Looks like Ling Chong will be so angry that he vomits blood. I'm really curious who's in box 8. Indeed, in the Ling family's box, Ling Chong was so angry that his face was ashen. He clenched his fists tightly and said, "I don't care who you are. If I let you leave Meteorite City alive, I won't be surnamed Ling." In box 8, Ling Xiao took out an item and handed it to Solitary Eagle before whispering a few words to him. Lone Eagle repeatedly agreed, turned around, and left the private room. The pattern flower was won by box 8 for 5 million gold coins, and the auction was about to come to an end. Just as everyone was about to leave, a maid hurriedly ran over to the young woman who was auctioning the item and whispered a few words into her ear. The young woman revealed a surprised expression, but she calmed down and nodded before sending the maid away. Everyone, don't be in such a hurry to leave. Originally, the pattern flower was the last item to be auctioned, but our auction house has provided an even better item at the last minute. Everyone, please take a look at this last item before you leave, the young woman hurriedly called out to the people who were about to leave. Those who were about to leave all stayed back. Everyone was wondering what kind of even better item would be added at the last minute. Then, a maidservant walked in with a tray in her hands. Everyone looked carefully. A high-grade 3rd grade windgrass. The starting price is 5 million gold coins. The young woman raised her voice as high as she could and pointed at the spirit herb in the maid's hands. 3. High-grade 3rd grade windgrass. As soon as the young woman's words fell, everyone was shocked. Immediately, all the rich people in the boxes with gold coins had the same thought. This spirit herb must be auctioned no matter how much it costs. There was no need to introduce the effects of the windgrass. It was a rare high-grade spirit herb outside of the 5 elements, and to any martial artist of the wind attribute, it was an absolute treasure. As soon as the windgrass was taken out, the Ling, Li, and Luo families all went crazy. Before long, the price had reached 8 million gold coins. Some of the VIPs in the boxes also joined in the bidding. This was because the auction wasn't only open to the natives of Meteorite City, it was also open to outsiders. However, a strong dragon couldn't resist a local snake. In the end, the Ling family won the windgrass for 18 million gold coins. Everyone marveled at the charm of this high-grade spirit herb. It was too amazing. 18 million gold coins, this amount could compare to the entire wealth of some small families. The Ling family was worthy of being the #1 family in Meteorite City. This kind of courage was really not something an ordinary family could compare to. Just who made the windgrass? Without a doubt, it came from the hands of Ling Xiao in the 8th box. He was the only one who had the windgrass. Ling Xiao didn't feel the slightest bit inappropriate about earning his family's gold coins. Instead, he wore a satisfied smile and said to himself, "TSK, I really didn't expect the windgrass to be so valuable. It seems like it's hard for me to be poor." The auction ended, and everyone began to leave. However, There were 3 groups of people waiting not far from the exit for the people in the 8th box to appear. Because they all had the same goal, and that was to take back what they had lost. This kind of killing and robbing was not uncommon anywhere. Regarding the impending danger, Ling Xiao was completely unaware. He first put away the soft armor, green needle roots, and 2 patterned flowers he had won. Moreover, there were some debts that needed to be settled. When it was time to settle the bill, Mo Hongmei came over with Luo Qingxuang. "Grandson-in-law, you are too unkind. You have such a high-grade spirit herb like the Yin windgrass. Why did you only take it out at the critical moment? Are you afraid that Granny can't afford the price?" Mo Hongmei complained. If she had known that Ling Xiao had the Yin windgrass, she would have talked with Ling Xiao before the auction to see if Ling Xiao could give the Yin windgrass to them first. However, Ling Xiao only took it out at the critical moment, so she could only do things according to the rules. It was not good to intercept it in advance. In the end, the Ling family won it again, so her heart was somewhat unfair. On the side, Luo Qingxuang happily hugged Ling Xiao's hand with a happy smile on her face. It was as if just seeing Ling Xiao made her very happy. Ling Xiao replied, "Granny, I had no other choice. For these things, I can't afford to pay them with just those few bottles of pills." The 3 bottles of pills that Ling Xiao had brought to the auction were sold for 2 million gold coins. The soft guard armor, green needle roots, and the patterned flower cost a total of 5,900,000 gold coins. Therefore, the gold coins from those pills weren't enough. He had no choice but to take out the Yin windgrass. The Yin windgrass was extremely rare and precious to others, but to Ling Xiao, it was just a drop in the bucket. Taking out 100 or so wasn't a problem. It had to be known that he had obtained nearly 1,000 Yin windgrass in the abyss. Mo Hongmei said, "Don't you know that the things you want aren't as valuable as a single Yin windgrass? Perhaps in the eyes of others, it's very precious, but that's different from person to person. I hope Granny can understand." Ling Xiao didn't want to reveal too many secrets to Mo Hongmei, but he wanted her to know that he, Ling Xiao, wasn't someone who couldn't weigh the pros and cons. Could it be that this kid has other high-grade spirit herbs? Mo Hongmei couldn't help but be shocked when she heard Ling Xiao's words. However, from Ling Xiao's tone, she knew that she had interfered too much, so she changed the topic. "Alright, I won't nag anymore. Today, I'll hand Shuang over to you. You're not allowed to bully her." She then turned around and left. "Brother Xiao, let's go play outside the city today, okay?" Luo Qingxuang shook Ling Xiao's arm as she spoke. Yesterday, she had made an appointment with Ling Xiao, telling him to accompany her today. Ling Xiao smiled. "Don't worry, Shuang. Today, all of the young master's time is yours, including at night." "Brother Xiao, you're so bad." Luo Qingxuang blushed at Ling Xiao's words, but in her heart, she was very happy. Ling Xiao had Solitary Eagle take out the remaining 10 million gold coins, and then he brought Luo Qingxuang and the 5 Elements envoy out of the auction. Ling Chong, Li Yuanhua, and Lan Dingshan, who had long since been waiting outside, were already impatient. When Ling Xiao came out, Ling Chong, Li Yuanhua, and Lan Dingshan were all puzzled. Why is it this brat? During the auction, the 3 families had already sent their guards to keep an eye on Ling Xiao's private room. When Solitary Eagle came out, he was immediately noticed. Chapter 126. However, Ling, Li, Lan, and the others hadn't expected the one-eyed man to be Ling Xiao's servant, Solitary Eagle, and the mysterious young master in the 8th room was Ling Xiao. They couldn't help but be shocked. "Dad, how could it be that stinky brat Ling Xiao?" Ling Rui asked in surprise. "You ask me, but who am I supposed to ask?" Ling Chong snapped. "Then, are we still going to snatch it?" Ling Rui asked in a small voice. "Snatch my ass. Can't you see the 5 Elements envoy behind him? Get the hell back." Ling Chong cursed. He hated Ling Xiao to death for stealing the green-haired ears he wanted. However, he wasn't willing to let Ling Xiao off just like that. He had to find a chance to snatch it back. On the Li family's side, Li Guanyin had a deep impression of Ling Xiao. Of course, he wouldn't forget the lesson Ling Xiao had taught him. "Dad, it's that bastard from the Ling family." Li Guangyin cast a venomous look at Ling Xiao and said to Li Yuanhua, "Alright, I got it. Let's go back." Li Yuanhua glanced at Ling Xiao, who was not far from him. His face was expressionless as he responded, and then he took the lead. "Dad, are we just going to let him off like that?" Li Guangyin asked in confusion. Unfortunately, his father didn't answer him and left with his guards. He could only follow unwillingly. Now that the Ling and Li families had left, Lan Dingshan knew that there was nothing he could do. He sighed and said to his daughter, "Let's go. We'll get that armor back later." The girl glanced at Ling Xiao and then at Ling Zhao's Luo Qingxuang. Her eyes flashed with a trace of surprise before she followed her father's footsteps. Lan Dingshan's eyes were filled with sadness and anger. He whispered to his daughter, He's Ling Xiao." "What?" The girl was shocked and then revealed an angry expression. "Dad, I'll go kill him." Lan Dingshan shook his head and said, "Let's go. Your brother's revenge will be avenged soon. Now is not the time to touch him." The girl unwillingly threw a vicious look at Ling Xiao before leaving with her father. Luo Qingxuang just happened to catch the scene. It was undeniable that women were very sensitive. "Brother Xiao, do you know her?" Luo Qingxuang pointed at Lan Dingshan's daughter and asked. Ling Xiao chuckled, "Shuang, are you jealous? Although this young master is lovable and beautiful, not everyone is interested in me. She can't even compare to 1/10 of you, so how could this young master know her?" When Luo Qingxuang heard Ling Zhao's words, she felt extremely satisfied and didn't pursue the matter any further. Instead, she hugged Ling Zhao's arm tightly and smiled happily. On the other hand, Ling Zhao's heart was in a mess because of the 2 lumps of soft meat, and the fire of lust was rising. He was thinking that if he could have a wild sex with this girl outside the city, it would definitely feel very good. However, he only thought about it and didn't dare to put it into action. Ling Xiao fulfilled his promise and accompanied Luo Qingxuang for the whole day. He was very happy. "If I knew this would happen, I would have called Yushi." Ling Xiao couldn't help but sigh when he returned. Then, he thought of Wei Dyer and felt that he was a little too stingy. He should have a good talk with her tonight. After Ling Xiao sent Luo Qingxuang back, he leisurely returned with Lone Eagle and the 5 Elements envoy. As night fell, the sky was shrouded in a large area of burning clouds. A few bright red clouds dyed the sky into a beautiful picture. After dinner, Ling Xiao called Wei Dyer out. Tonight, Wei Dyer was dressed in a light pink satin dress, which accentuated her voluptuous body to the fullest extent. There was a hint of melancholy in her almond-shaped eyes. She put away her usual charming smile and asked very seriously, "Young master, what orders do you have?" After a day and a night of reflection, she knew that her actions yesterday might have angered Ling Xiao. She must have begged Frenzied Blade for mercy at the last moment. She felt that Ling Xiao must have thought that she had some kind of relationship with Frenzied Blade. Now that she still wanted to stay, she had to cut off the feelings in her heart and stay by Ling Zhao's side as a guard. But could she really do it? Ling Xiao first released Qi Zai and the Golden Wolf King from the Spirit Beast wristband. Then he took out the silk soft armor from his spatial ring. He walked to Wei Dyer and said softly, "Sister Dyer, this is for you." Wei Dyer was stunned for a moment. Then, she looked at the set of blue soft armor in Ling Zhao's hand. Her beautiful eyes gradually became misty, and then she directly threw herself into Ling Zhao's arms and sobbed. In front of a window not far away, a cold and handsome young man saw this scene. He smiled with satisfaction and then pulled up the window. After a long time, Wei Dyer smiled and said, "Why are you so good to me? Don't you think I'm a fickle woman?" "If you are a fickle woman, there will be no good women in this world," Ling Xiao said with a smile as he wiped Wei Dyer's tears. The conflict in Wei Dyer's heart was melted by Ling Zhao's words. Just as Ling Xiao was about to take advantage of the situation, Wei Dyer pushed him away and said with a smile, "This is the reward for the gift you gave me, my good brother." After laughing, she threw a coquettish look at Ling Xiao, turned around gracefully, and returned to her room with the silk soft armor. Ling Xiao licked his lips and muttered to himself, "What a seductress! Sooner or later, this young master will eat you." Tonight, Ling Xiao let Wei Dyer go because he had more important things to do. Back in his room, Ling Xiao took out the green needle root. Elder Lu, come out. The thing you want is here. Ling Xiao called out. Following that, a ball of green light came out from Ling Xiao's sea of knowledge. A shadow appeared in front of Ling Xiao. It was the 10,000-year tree spirit, Lu Weng. It really is the green needle root. Lu Weng looked at the spirit root that Ling Xiao took out with excitement. Green Elder, is this thing really that helpful to you? Ling Xiao asked, not understanding what was going on. Lu Weng stroked his green beard and replied, of course. The green needle root contains our wood elemental spiritual qi. After I absorb it, I will be able to recover at least 50 years of vitality. Elemental spiritual qi? Ling Xiao was stunned for a moment. This was the first time he had heard of this term. Lu Weng nodded and explained, every element has its own elemental spiritual qi. Although this green needle root is not an elemental treasure, it is extremely precious to a tree spirit. Let this old man absorb it first. Lu Weng explained and impatiently opened his mouth and sucked the green needle root into his mouth. Immediately afterward, it turned into a ball of green light and entered Ling Xiao's sea of knowledge. Hey, Elder Lu, you still haven't given me the 10,000-year tree milk, Ling Xiao hurriedly called out. The reason he had auctioned this green needle root was for the 10,000-year tree milk, which would allow him to increase his lifespan by another 100 years. Immediately afterward, Lu Weng's voice sounded in Ling Xiao's mind. You humans can only take the 10,000-year tree milk once. If you take it again, it will have no effect. So it's useless for you to have another drop. Ling Xiao almost went crazy when he heard this. He hadn't expected that this old man would lie to him. How infuriating! Next time, don't ask me for anything else, Ling Xiao said in annoyance. He had been smart all his life, but he had been foolish for a moment. Although Ling Xiao had cursed Lu Weng a few times, he was still unhappy in his heart. He thought to himself, sooner or later, I'll make you spit out the 10,000-year tree milk. Ling Xiao calmed himself down and took out the 2 patterned flowers from his spatial ring. I didn't expect to be able to obtain such good things at the auction. Ling Xiao's eyes lit up as he looked at the 2 flowers. If others knew that Ling Xiao had auctioned off the Yin Wind grass for these 2 patterned flowers, they would definitely think that Ling Xiao was an idiot. In the eyes of others, 1 Yin Wind grass was worth at least 10 patterned flowers, but Ling Xiao had only exchanged for 2 and was still complacent. It would be strange if others didn't call him an idiot. But was there really something wrong with Ling Xiao's head? Of course not. The value of these patterned flowers was indeed inferior to the Yin Wind grass, but Ling Xiao's goal wasn't these 2 flowers. What he mainly wanted were the stalks of these 2 flowers. Everyone knew the effects of the patterned flower, but no one knew the use of the patterned flower stalks. Even the spirit grass did not have any records of it. However, Ling Xiao had learned from the alchemy art that the stalks of the patterned flower were called explosive stalks, and were the main material for refining the 3rd-grade pill, the explosive spirit pill. However, Ling Xiao wasn't here to refine the explosive spirit pill. The reason why the stalks of the patterned flower were called explosive stalks was because the stalks were filled with a violent element. If one consumed it directly, it would cause their mental strength to skyrocket, allowing them to break through their shackles in a short period of time. Consuming this explosive stalks had its pros and cons. The consumer would suffer from the pain of being pricked by thousands of needles. If the consumer's willpower wasn't strong enough, they would become mentally deranged and eventually become an idiot. In the worst cases, they wouldn't be able to withstand the torment and their consciousness would rupture and they would die. Therefore, almost no one dared to consume this explosive stalk directly. Usually, it was only used to refine the explosive spirit pill. However, Ling Xiao did something that others would think of as a lunatic. He actually pinched off a small section of the explosive stalk and chewed on it. Immediately after, Ling Xiao immediately sat down to meditate and silently recited the control tactics chant in his mind. The explosive stalk that was consumed instantly turned into a violent energy that charged towards Ling Xiao's consciousness. As soon as the violent energy reached Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness, It immediately expanded, and the energy dispersed into needle-like shapes, piercing into the surroundings of the sea of consciousness. But Ling Xiao only felt that his mind was being pricked and tortured by thousands of needles. It felt as if his head was about to explode. It was so painful that he wished he was dead. Defend the universe, defend the unity. Ling Xiao clenched his teeth as beads of sweat dripped from his face. He formed a mysterious hand seal and silently recited the chant in his mind. Suddenly, the violent energy in Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness was pacified and stopped spreading out. Then, the scattered energy was wrapped up by an invisible spiritual force from the outside, preventing it from continuing to irritate the sea of consciousness. Then, as the invisible pressure increased, the violent energy was squeezed into a dozen or so drops of milky white liquid, dripping into the sea of consciousness. Chapter 127. After the sea of consciousness came into contact with the milk, it became as white as the milk. As the dozen drops of milk fell, the sea of consciousness actually expanded by a quarter before stopping. In a small green tree next to the sea of consciousness, Lu Weng was currently converting the energy of the green needles, but he also felt the change in Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness. What is this kid doing? His sea of consciousness has liquefied. Lu Weng murmured in shock as he looked at the dozen drops of milky white liquid. The gray bead at the side also shook a few times, as if it was happy with the changes in the sea of consciousness. As for the changes in the sea of consciousness, Ling Xiao didn't know. He only knew that the pain in his head gradually lessened until all the pain disappeared. After an unknown amount of time, Ling Xiao slowly opened his eyes. 2 rays of light shot out, giving off an unfathomable feeling. "Break for me!" Ling Xiao focused his gaze on the lantern not far away and shouted. But the lantern actually split into 2 without any warning. If others were to see this, they would probably jump in fright. This was because only those who had reached the spirit master level could use the pressure of their thoughts to attack. However, Ling Xiao was clearly only an intermediate mystic disciple, so how could he use mental pressure to attack? Needless to say, this was all because of the soul-controlling art. Just now, Ling Xiao used mental energy to attack the lantern. Mental energy was a formless existence that couldn't be seen with the naked eye. Only those with high mental energy could sense it. Ling Xiao smiled in satisfaction. He knew that his mental energy had definitely increased by a lot. He believed that it wouldn't be a problem for him to attack 5 times a day, and his attack range had also increased from 2 meters to 3 meters. Don't look down on this extra meter. If he cultivated normally, Ling Xiao would probably have to spend half a year to reach this level. Attack power and attack range both changed with the increase of mental energy. With Ling Xiao's current strength, he was absolutely invincible under the mystic disciple rank. Against a spirit master rank, he at least had a way to protect his life. As long as the opponent didn't attack him immediately, he could definitely make the opponent suffer. After tasting the sweetness for the first time, Ling Xiao immediately swallowed the other half of the explosive stem. At first, there was a sharp pain, but Ling Xiao quickly endured it. Ling Xiao's tenacity was tempered from his previous life. Other than being unable to endure the charms of women, he could endure anything else as long as he wanted to, including the pain of being pricked by thousands of needles. Ling Xiao didn't know that he had spent about 10 days in seclusion. At this time, Meteorite City was getting more and more lively. This was because in 3 days, the entire city would be ushered in. It would be the day of the Great Family Competition that was held once every 4 years. In the Great Family Competition, the top families of the Meteorite City would send their young representatives above the age of 25 to compete in the martial arts arena. This was not only to promote the culture of practicing martial arts in Meteorite City, but also to show the strength of the younger generation of the major families in order to determine the potential of the major families in the future. Of course, this was only the original intention of the martial arts competition. However, with the passage of time, this competition had gradually turned into a competition for the prestige of the major families, as well as a competition for ranking. The family that won the first place in the competition might have the most number of people in the top 10. This represented the strength of the younger generation of the family, as well as the prestige of the family. Therefore, in every year's great family competition, all the major families would send their strongest members of the younger generation, and they were bound to get a better ranking. Since there were more than 30 big and small families in Meteorite City, the number of people participating in the competition was also limited. The three major families could each send 10 people, the mid-level families could send 5 people, and the smallest family could send 2 people. The Great Family Competition had been held for 125 times, and had lasted for 500 years. In these 500 years, the three major families had occupied the top 10 positions the most. Among them, the Ling family had occupied the most positions. So, it wasn't an exaggeration to say that the Ling family was the leader of the three major families. In every great family competition, all the major families would take out a part of their collections as a reward. This was also the custom of every competition. Now, all the major families were nervously preparing for the great family competition. In a mountain ridge behind the Ling family's inner courtyard, in a cave, a young man with a bare upper body was glowing with a golden light, as if a golden Buddha had come into being. He was exceptionally dazzling. Outside the cave, there were 2 guards guarding respectfully. These 2 guards had the cultivation of a low-level mystic cultivator. Young master has broken through. The 2 guards' eyes revealed a look of surprise. What are you here for? A voice came from inside. Young master, 3 days later is the day of the great family competition. I have come under the orders of the elder to invite young master out of seclusion, one of the guards replied with a bow. The young man inside the cave opened his star-like eyes, and his face had an ancient expression. He murmured, "For years? Li Tianhao, don't disappoint me." Then the young man shot out from the cave. His body shone with a golden light like the sun, appearing extremely dazzling. Like a star cutting through the sky, he sped towards the inner courtyard of the Ling family. The 2 low-level mystic cultivators behind him revealed a look of shock again, and then hurriedly chased after him. At the same time, a few figures shot out from several seclusion grounds of the Ling family, their speed not inferior to that of the young man in front. Some of the patrolling guards noticed, but when they saw who it was, they hurriedly bowed and saluted. North of the city, Li family. In the belly of a mountain facing the sun, there was also a naked young man sitting cross-legged on a fire lotus altar. The fire lotus altar was burning and flickering, but the young man inside seemed to not feel the heat and was still cultivating with his eyes closed. If it was a normal person, even if they did not burn to death, they would have died from the heat. But that young man seemed to be fine. After an unknown amount of time, the young man's body trembled slightly, and then he shouted loudly. His whole body rose up, and his whole body bloomed with a demonic bright red color, as if he was one with the fire lotus altar on the ground, like a child of the sun. He waved one hand, and a flame roared towards the trees in front like a dragon. Boom! In an instant, the trees that were hit were blasted into powder, and the surrounding trees were also burned by the flames. The young man landed, and the surrounding flames were extinguished in an instant. It's about time, buddy. It's time for you to go out and drink some fresh blood. The young man who was emitting flames looked up at the sky, and after muttering this, he waved his hand, and a flame broke through the ground nearby. A long sword emitting blue flames fell into the young man's hand. If someone was here, they would definitely be shocked to find that the young man was holding a 3rd-level fire attribute profound weapon. In another direction, in a side building at the back of the Luo family's inner courtyard, a very ordinary-looking young man was scratching his head in worry. Damn it, for years have passed so quickly, and I'm still at the same spot. This time, I'm definitely going to lose badly. That young man muttered to himself, and then walked to the window to look at another side building not far away, only to see that it was emitting a thick green light. Although it was just a flash, it alarmed many people in the Luo family. When that ordinary-looking young man saw that green light, he opened his mouth and said, "Big brother broke through again. That's too much of a blow." At the same time, some of the younger generation of the middle and small aristocratic families came out of seclusion, all for the grand meeting that was held once every 4 years. This year's grand family competition was bound to be a spectacular battle between dragons and tigers. As the grand family competition approached, Ling Xiao was still meditating in his room. His expression was solemn, and his hands were placed in front of his abdomen. His entire body was emitting a cold aura, and what was even more peculiar was that the light around him was alternating between gold, red, white, and finally gray. The color changes were repeated over and over again, and it was extremely mystical and extraordinary. Knock knock. There was a light knock on the door, and then Lone Eagle's voice came from outside. Young master, the family has an urgent matter that requires your presence in the inner courtyard. Ling Xiao opened his eyes and stood up. His temperament was clearly a level higher than before, and he seemed even more heroic and extraordinary. Yes, I understand, he replied indifferently, got up, put on his clothes, and walked out. Lone Eagle had been waiting for a long time, and he immediately said to Ling Xiao, "It's about the grand family competition." There were many things that Lone Eagle had to clarify in advance without Ling Xiao's instructions, and then report to Ling Xiao as soon as possible. He was already thoroughly proud to be Ling Xiao's servant. Ling Xiao nodded, but he didn't immediately rush to the inner courtyard. Instead, he went to the great hall to enjoy his breakfast, and only then did he leisurely walk to the inner courtyard. At this moment in the inner courtyard, the family head and the 8 elders were all present, and there were also 9 youths standing there. These 9 youths were all in high spirits, and their temperaments were extraordinary. Their expressions were extremely cold and arrogant. They were the cream of the Ling family's younger generation, and they were the representatives representing the Ling family in the grand family competition. A year ago, the top 5 of the Ling family's test, except for Ling Xiao, were all present. The 2nd elder's grandson, Ling Kuang, the 4th elder's granddaughter, Ling Bin, the family head's grandson, Ling Li, and the 5th elder's grandson, Ling Xing. Ling Kuang and Ling Bin had long broken through to the Mystic Knight rank, and Ling Li, who was originally a high-level Mystic Knight during the family test, had also broken through to the Mystic Knight rank in the recent half a year. As for Ling Xing, he had failed to break through. Perhaps it was because Ling Xiao had defeated him, and it had created an inner demon. He was already very weak here. Today, 4 of the top 5 of the family test were Mystic Knight rank, and all the elders of the Ling family were especially gratified. However, there was still one person who hadn't come, and some people were not too happy. It's already been an hour, let's not wait any longer. If the family head has anything to say, just announce it, and save us all the time. The 5th elder impatiently said to the family head, Ling Tsong. Ling Tsong said indifferently, "Then let's begin." He then stood up and said to the 9 youths in the great hall, "The quadrennial clans competition is coming soon, and you will represent the family to fight for the glory of the family. I hope that all of you will return victorious from this competition and bring glory to the Ling family." After Ling Tsong had talked non-stop for a while, it was the 2nd elder's turn to speak, and all of them were words of encouragement. After the first 4 elders spoke, it was Ling Tsong's turn to speak. "You are all good men of the Ling family. Do you have the confidence to enter the top 10, or even the first place?" Chapter 128. Yes, the 9 of them shouted in unison. "Good. In a bit, the 3rd elder will distribute the medicinal pills to you. After that, you can go to the armory pavilion to choose a suitable weapon," said Ling Tsong. Just as the 3rd elder was distributing the medicinal pills to the 9 of them, Ling Xiao finally arrived. Immediately, everyone's gazes landed on Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao greets the clan leader and the elders. Ling Xiao bowed to Ling Tsong. "Why are you late?" Ling Tsong asked unhappily. He really felt a headache for his grandson. Why did he have to cause trouble every time? Reporting to the clan leader, "I was cultivating and lost track of time," replied Ling Xiao. "Since you've worked so hard, I'll let it go this time. But don't do it again. Go to the side and receive your medicinal pills," said Ling Tsong. "I don't think that's appropriate." The fifth elder wouldn't let go of a chance to attack Ling Xiao. He had long since hated Ling Xiao to the bone. What do you think, fifth elder? Ling Tsong asked indifferently. Ling Xiao came late, so he should be punished. But since he's been diligently cultivating, he can be exempted from any heavy punishment. But he's not allowed to receive any medicinal pills or weapons as a punishment. Otherwise, in the future, anyone can use the excuse of cultivating to come late. That's clearly looking down on the elder assembly. How can our elder assembly convince the masses? The fifth elder had a good plan. He used Ling Zhao's tardiness as an excuse to cut off Ling Zhao's chance to choose any medicinal pills or weapons. In the faction competition, all the great clan's elites would bring along their clan's best medicinal pills and weapons. This way, they could increase their battle prowess by many times. If Ling Xiao didn't have any medicinal pills or high-tier weapons, then he would be at a disadvantage in the competition. This was because the matches were fought one after another until the final victor was decided. Every match would consume a lot of energy. If one did not have elixirs to recover, even if they won, they would be at a disadvantage in the following matches. It was the same for weapons. If one used a low-level weapon to fight against the opponent's high-level weapon, sooner or later, the weapon would be destroyed. Elder Ling Tsong's eyes flashed with anger, but just as he was about to speak, Ling Xiao smiled and said, "Patriarch, fifth elder is right. Ling Xiao is willing to accept the punishment, but I don't want the pills and weapons." At this moment, all the elders and the 9 youths present looked at Ling Xiao in astonishment. Did the Grand Elder give him something good? This thought flashed through everyone's mind. Of course, Ling Tsong had thought of this as well, so he nodded and said, "Then let's do as the fifth elder says. Disperse." Then he transmitted his voice to Ling Xiao and said, "Little brat, come with me to the inner hall." The elders dispersed, and the 9 youths also left one by one. However, there were 2 hostile gazes that swept across Ling Zhao's body, but Ling Xiao didn't mind it at all. Ling Zhao's cousin, Ling Li, walked up to him and whispered, "I didn't expect you to be ahead of me again, but I'll surpass you sooner or later." Ling Xiao knew that his cousin was a cultivation maniac, so he didn't want to discourage him, so he replied, "I'll wait for you." The crowd dispersed, and Ling Xiao followed Ling Tsong to the inner hall. "Xiao, you're getting more and more impudent," Ling Tsong said with a cold expression. "Grandpa, I really was in seclusion. If you hadn't sent someone to call me, I'm afraid I would still be cultivating," Ling Xiao explained. "I've sent someone to invite you for a long time, but you're still dawdling. Do you think that you can be arrogant just because you've made some progress?" Ling Tsong snorted. "Xiao, wouldn't dare." Ling Xiao hurriedly bowed. He knew that this time, the Grand Elder was angry. Ling Tsong sighed and said, "Forget it. I have 2 bottles of medicinal pills here, you can take them first." He then took out 2 bottles of medicinal pills and handed them over to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao caught the pills and opened them to take a look. To his surprise, they were a second-stage muscle-growing pill and a storm pill. However, the quality was too poor. It was obvious that the alchemist who had refined these pills was only at the beginner level. Ling Xiao muttered inwardly, how could he bring out such a worthless pill? How embarrassing. Ling Zhao's expression fell into Ling Tsong's eyes, and Ling Tsong thought that he didn't understand pills, so he explained, 1 bottle contains the muscle-growing pill, which is a higher-grade healing pill than the dew-returning pill. The other bottle contains the storm pill. If you meet an opponent that you can't beat, you can take it. However, you must not be careless. I believe that both the Li and Luo families have these pills. Ling Xiao closed the bottle and put the 2 bottles of pills on the table. Grandpa, the quality of these 2 bottles of pills is too poor. The effect is not very good. I think you should keep it. You little brat, I know that the Grand Elder is protecting you, so he should have some pills for you to use. However, second-stage pills are rare even for the Grand Elder, yet you don't want them? Are you trying to anger Grandpa to death? Ling Tsong angrily said. Ling Xiao shook his head and took out 2 bottles of pills from his spatial ring, placing them in front of Ling Tsong. Grandpa, what do you think these are? Ling Tsong suspiciously took the pills from Ling Xiao, then opened them and closed them again, saying, so you already have these 2 kinds of pills. However, Grandpa should also keep these for now, just in case you need them in the future. No, Grandpa, please compare these 2 bottles with mine, Ling Xiao said. Ling Tsang did as he was told and opened all 4 bottles of pills. Only after comparing them did he realize that the quality of the pills in his 2 bottles was truly trash. It seems that the Grand Elder still has some good stuff. Since that's the case, I'll take them back. Ling Tsang smiled bitterly and put away his 2 bottles of pills. Grandpa, please accept these 2 bottles as well. In any case, I don't need them, Ling Xiao said. Bastard, do you know how much these 2 bottles are worth? Even the family doesn't have more than 10 bottles. Moreover, these were given to you by the Grand Elder. He doesn't want anything to happen to you during the faction competition, so what's the point of you giving them to me? Ling Tsang loudly rebuked. Second-stage medicinal pills were extremely precious in Meteor City, and Ling Tsang thought that Ling Xiao didn't know how valuable they were, so he immediately reprimanded Ling Xiao to prevent him from becoming too arrogant. Grandpa, don't be angry. Look at these. Ling Xiao instantly took out a dozen bottles of pills and placed them in front of Ling Tsang. This time, even Ling Tsang was shocked. Opening the bottles one after another, he found that they were all second-stage pills. Besides the muscle growth pill and haste pill, there were also vitality pills and vitality growth pills. How can you have so many pills? Is this the Grand Elder's lifetime collection? Ling Tsang muttered in shock. Then he looked up at Ling Xiao and asked, Xiao, tell me honestly, what happened to the Grand Elder? What do you mean what happened? Ling Xiao was confused by this question. Did the Grand Elder die? Ling Tsang asked with a pained expression. Grandpa, what nonsense are you talking about? Although I haven't seen the Grand Elder for some time, I don't think the Grand Elder would die so easily, right? Ling Xiao replied helplessly. Then why do you have so many pills? Also, what's with the space ring on your hand? Didn't the Grand Elder pass them on to you? Ling Tsang asked. Ling Xiao suddenly understood. It turned out that his grandfather thought that the Grand Elder had passed away and passed on all his possessions to him. His grandfather was really far-sighted. Grandpa, you misunderstand. These pills were all refined by me, Ling Xiao said frankly. You refined them? This time, Ling Tsang was shocked, his eyes filled with doubt. So, Ling Xiao briefly explained how he became an alchemist. The more Ling Tsang listened, the more surprised he became, finally bursting into laughter. Good, I didn't expect my Ling family to have an alchemy grandmaster. The heavens are truly blessing my Ling family. In the past, our Ling family also had an ancestor who was an alchemist? Ling Xiao asked. Ling Tsang replied with his hands behind his back. Our ancestors have long since recorded it. 800 years ago, our Ling family had a 3rd-grade alchemist. That was the Ling family's most glorious time in Meteorite City, and it was also at that time that our Ling family rose to prominence. All the clans, big and small, wanted to curry favor with our Ling family. At that time, our Ling family was very prestigious, but now it has gradually declined. Grandpa, don't be discouraged. I believe that under your leadership, the family will definitely regain its former glory, Ling Xiao comforted. Originally, I also thought so, but Grandpa is old, and my strength is not as strong as my heart desires. So, Xiao, you are the hope of our Ling family's new generation. With your status as an alchemist, you will definitely be able to restore the Ling family's prestige, Ling Tsang said kindly as he patted Ling Zhao's shoulder. Grandpa, you think too highly of me. To be honest, I have no interest in becoming an elder or a clan leader. Watching you fight with the 2nd elder and the others makes me tired, Ling Xiao replied. Then he paused and asked, Oh right, have they made any moves recently? Xiao, you don't need to worry about these things. Grandpa has his own plans. Right now, how many people know that you have become an alchemist? Ling Tsang asked. Only you know. That's good. You can't make it public right now. It won't be too late to make it public when you become a spirit master. Also, don't show your space ring in front of others, understand? Ling Tsang reminded. Xiao, understands, Ling Xiao replied. The tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. An ordinary man is innocent, but he will get himself into trouble because of his wealth. Ling Xiao understood this principle. Xiao, you must be careful in this competition. I don't think the Li family will let go of any opportunity to deal with you, Ling Tsang warned. Xiao understands, Ling Xiao replied. In reality, Ling Xiao didn't think much of it. Could there be another spirit master in the Li family? He wasn't boasting, but he could easily kill anyone below the spirit master level. Thus, after the grandfather and grandson talked for a while, Ling Xiao left. Ling Tsang looked at Ling Xiao's dignified figure and sighed. The future of the Ling family depends on you. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye, and the day of the clan competition finally arrived. In the plaza in the middle of the market, there were already 6 arenas built by the 3 clans for the elimination matches. The arena in the middle, which was carved out of rock, was reserved for the top 10 matches. Early in the morning, the arenas were already crowded with people. The scene could only be described in 4 words: the sound of gongs and drums, and the voices of people. There were a total of 150 people participating in the competition, and each arena was divided into 30 people who would draw lots to determine their opponents. Chapter 129. The rules of the competition were simple: admit defeat, forfeit, or fall off the stage. Due to the fact that weapons would be used in the martial arts competition, it was inevitable that there would be injuries during the fight. However, killing was not allowed. Every ring would be strictly guarded by the deacons sent by the 3 great families. If anyone killed during the competition, they would be captured and killed. After all, the participants were the elites of the various clans, and no one wished for the next generation of the clan's pillars to die. As the time came, the clan leaders and elders of the various clans brought their younger generation into the arena. In a moment, the surrounding people began to discuss among themselves. Look, the Shui and Qin clans' clan leaders are here. 4 years ago, the Shui and Qin clans both had people in the top 15. The Zhong clan is here as well, and the one leading them is their elder from the previous generation. Some of the smaller clans entered the arena and chose their seats. These seats were determined by the rankings from 4 years ago, and no one could just randomly stand there. Not long after, the arena was filled with people from the various great clans. It was truly a sea of people, and it was very lively. Look, it's the Lan clan. It's Lan Jianren personally leading the team. He was one of the top 10 experts in the last competition. Back then, he was just a low-level mystic cultivator, but his strength should have improved even more now. In recent years, the Lan clan's strength has increased greatly, and this year, they may be even stronger. Look, it's Li Tianhao, the top 5 experts in the last competition. 4 years have passed, and this year, he's a popular candidate for first place. The Ling clan's Ling Feng is here as well. There's going to be a good show. Isn't that right? That earth-shattering battle between Li Tianhao and Ling Feng is still unforgettable. I wonder who will be the one to die this time. Don't forget about the Luo brothers, they're here as well. After all the representatives of the clans had arrived, 8 figures dashed towards the high platform from 8 different directions. In a moment, everyone was shocked. 8 elders appeared on the stage, with the Ling clan's Ling Tsang, the Li clan's Li Qianzhong, and the Luo clan's Luo Xiangming in the middle. The other 5 were the leaders of the smaller clans as well as the elders of the previous generation. Every single one of them had unfathomable strength and were at least spirit masters. Otherwise, they wouldn't have the right to sit together with the leaders of the 3 large clans. The Lan family's patriarch, Lan Zhenfeng, sat next to Li Qianzhong. He cupped his hands and greeted, "Brother Li, this year's champion position belongs to your Li family." Lan Zhenfeng flattered Li Qianzhong as if he was showing off to Ling Tsang. Brother Lan is too polite. Li Qianzhong replied modestly, but his eyes were filled with arrogance. It looked like he was determined to obtain the position of champion this time. Li Qianzhong and Lan Zhenfeng were talking in public. This was a message that their Li family and Lan family had indeed formed an alliance. At this moment, the Luo clan's patriarch, Luo Xiangming, looked at Ling Tsang and smiled. Brother Ling, when will you come to our Luo clan to propose marriage? Luo Xiangming's words were really shocking. When Li Qianzhong and Lan Zhenfeng heard this, they were so scared that they almost bit their tongues. The small and medium-sized family representatives were also shocked. If the Ling family and the Luo family formed an alliance, what would this mean? If two of the three great families formed an alliance, it would probably cause a huge earthquake in Meteorite City. Even Ling Tsong himself was shocked. He asked in confusion, "Brother Luo, what do you mean?" "Brother Ling, don't you know that your families Ling Xiao and my granddaughter Shuang are in love? My Shuang said that she won't marry anyone other than that brat Ling Xiao. Could it be that Brother Ling is looking down on my Luo family?" Luo Xiangming frowned. "Brother Luo, your words are too serious. Xiao has always been independent and has the guidance of the Grand Elder. I rarely interfere in his matters. I really don't know what's going on between him and your granddaughter." Ling Tsong quickly replied. He was pleasantly surprised. He really didn't expect that his grandson Ling Xiao had actually hooked up with the Luo family's granddaughter. As long as the Ling family and the Luo family had a marriage, all the internal problems would naturally be solved. "Brother Ling, now that you know, you can state your position," Luo Xiangming said indifferently. Li Qianzhong, who was standing to the side, was furious. He had previously asked his grandson to propose to the Luo family, but the Luo family had rejected him. It turned out that the Luo family had taken a liking to the Ling family. Moreover, it was that stinky brat that he hated the most. "Good, Luo Xiangming. Once we destroy the Ling family, your Luo family can forget about staying in Meteorite City." Li Qianzhong exclaimed in his heart. Ling Tsong laughed heartily. "Since Brother Luo has put it that way, if I, Ling Tsong, refuse, then wouldn't that be too inconsiderate? Once the competition is over, I'll send someone to send the betrothal gifts. Shuang is my most beloved granddaughter. Your gifts can't be light." Luo Xiangming laughed. "Naturally." Ling Tsong stroked his beard with a smile. At that moment, another two figures flew up from below. "We shouldn't be late, right?" A clear voice came from one of the figures. In an instant, the three clan heads and the other 5 people on the platform all stood up to greet the newcomers. The newcomers were 2 old men. One was dressed in a light yellow robe and had a slightly plump body. He had a warm smile on his face, giving off an amiable and approachable feeling. He was the one who had spoken just now. The other was dressed in a gray robe. He had an indifferent expression on his face and was extremely tall and thin. Standing among the crowd, he gave off the feeling of a crane in a flock of chickens. "Grandmaster Li, Grandmaster Yuan." The 3 clan heads and the other 5 people called out in unison. Of these 2 people, only Meteorite City's Grandmaster Li Yu and the mysterious second-grade alchemist Yuan Ping of the Spirit Herb Hall could receive such a respectful welcome from the 3 clan heads. After Li Yu and Yuan Ping returned the greeting, Li Yu directly walked up to Ling Tsong and cupped his hands, saying, "I've long wanted to pay a visit to Brother Ling. After the competition, I hope Brother Ling won't mind coming to your residence to drink a cup of wine." Li Yu's words were a bit loud, so everyone on the platform heard him clearly. Everyone was even more shocked. As the only Grandmaster Artificer in Meteorite City, Li Su's status was on an equal footing with the patriarchs of the 3 major families. Previously, the 3 major families had tried to recruit Li Su, hoping that he could become their elder. Unfortunately, Li Yu didn't like to be restricted, so they all rejected them. However, he still maintained a good relationship with the 3 clans and maintained a neutral position. No one had ever heard of him favoring any of the 3 clans. Now that he had expressed his goodwill to Ling Tsong in front of everyone in the hall, how could the crowd not be shocked? If Li Yu really had a good relationship with the Ling family, then the Ling family's prestige would soar in the future. Their position as the chief of the 3 clans would become unshakable, and even the Li and Lan families wouldn't dare to have any designs on them. Although Li Yu was only one person, his rallying power was quite astonishing. For a moment, everyone's thoughts were running wild. Some of the mid-sized and small clans' representatives were thinking of ways to build a relationship with the Ling family. Ling Tsong himself didn't understand what was going on. Luo Xiangming's attitude was understandable, but with Li Yu's temperament, He had never given face to anyone. Why did he suddenly change his attitude? However, Ling Tsang didn't think too much about it and immediately replied with a smile. If Grandmaster Li can come to my residence as a guest, Ling Tsang will naturally welcome you with open arms. Our Ling family may not have much, but we do have a lot of century-old wine. That's good, right? Xiao came to participate in the competition today, right? I'm waiting to see if he can make it into the top 5, Liu asked. Because of Xiao again? Ling Tsang's heart trembled, and he immediately asked, Grandmaster Li knows my good-for-nothing grandson? Speaking of which, I have to thank Xiao. If he hadn't saved my son, I would have had to send him off. He is our family's benefactor, and I even made him recognize me as his foster grandfather. Brother Ling, you don't mind, do you? Li Yu smiled. Grandmaster Li, you want Xiao to recognize you as his foster grandfather? Ling Tsang was at a loss. What? Are you looking down on me, Li Yu? Li Yu said solemnly. No, of course not, I couldn't ask for more. Ling Tsang hurriedly waved his hand in response, but his heart was in turmoil. His grandson was really making him more and more surprised. The future of the Ling family would rise because of him. With the arrival of all the family representatives, the competition was about to begin. First, the patriarchs of the 3 major families would speak, and then the families would present their bets and rewards. These were all handed over to Li Yu and Yuan Ping for safekeeping. After the final rankings were determined, they would distribute the bets and rewards. They could be considered as the judges of this competition. Everything was ready, and the competitors prepared to draw lots to determine the arena and opponents. Ling Xiao followed the leaders of his family, Ling Feng, and the others to the nearest lottery box to draw lots. At that moment, an indifferent voice came from the side. Ling Feng, long time no see. The one who spoke was a gloomy young man. Although he couldn't be said to be handsome, he gave off a calm and mature feeling. However, his eyes were like that of a venomous snake, making people feel very uncomfortable. He was the leader of this generation of the Li family, Li Tianhao. 4 years ago, he was already a low-level mystic cultivator at the age of 21. Now that he was 25, he had probably broken through to the mid-level mystic cultivator. On the Ling family side, a young man dressed in a golden martial outfit flipped his hair and looked at Li Tianhao. Li Tianhao, I didn't expect you to also advance, but this is more fun. I hope you don't lose too quickly. Li Tianhao smiled proudly. Ling Feng, you're still so arrogant, but I wanted to return these words to you. Don't forget that 4 years ago, you were defeated by me, and this year will not be an exception. Ling Feng seemed to have been hit on his sore spot, and he clenched his fists tightly. Squinting his eyes, he said, just you wait, I will return the humiliation from 4 years ago double. 4 years ago, Li Tianhao and Ling Feng were both in the top 5. In order to fight for the 4th place, the 2 of them engaged in a fierce battle. Because the 2 of them were evenly matched, the battle was very intense. Unfortunately, Ling Feng's metal attribute was restrained by Li Tianhao's fire attribute, and in the end, he lost to Li Tianhao by 1 move. In these 4 years, Ling Feng had been thinking about revenge for his defeat. Don't worry, I will wait for you in the arena. I hope you don't lose too quickly, Li Tianhao said very proudly. Then, his gaze fell on Ling Xiao and he said faintly, You are Ling Xiao? The rare genius of Meteorite City in 100 years? Chapter 130. Ling Xiao met Li Tianhao's gaze and said lazily, Who are you? Could it be that you're my fan? You're here to ask for my autograph, right? I'm not free today. I'll give you my autograph the next time I make an appointment. What's a fan? Li Tianhao asked, not understanding. Even the Ling family members beside Ling Xiao didn't understand what he was talking about. F***CK, fans don't understand. They're my admirers. You must have come to find me because you admire my reputation, right? Don't worry, I'll be merciful to you once I get to the arena, Ling Xiao said confidently. Ling Xiao's eyes lit up. As soon as he said this, everyone's expression changed. The second elder's grandson, Ling Kuang, was even more disdainful, shameless fellow. Ever since Ling Xiao had been chosen by the Grand Elder as his successor disciple, Ling Kuang hated Ling Xiao to the core because he felt that the position of successor disciple should have been his. Hearing Ling Xiao's words, Li Tianhao's forehead turned black and he snorted, "I'm Li Qingqing's big brother, you better pray that you don't meet me or else you'll end up very badly." Ling Xiao picked his ear and said very disdainfully, "So you're that bitch Li Qingqing's big brother? Didn't your crippled father tell you who cut off his arm?" Instantly, Li Tianhao's killing intent surged as he glared at Ling Xiao and shouted, "If I don't kill you on the arena, my name isn't Li Tianhao. Don't worry, you can change your name to Li Xianxia in the future." Ling Xiao really didn't care about the cost of insulting others. "How dare you!" Li Tianhao almost went berserk. "Tianhao, get back here." A cold voice came from the Li family's side. Li Tianhao snorted coldly and turned to walk back. Ling Xiao looked towards the direction where the voice came from. He saw a man with his head covered by a cloak. He couldn't see his face clearly, but his whole body was emitting a scorching aura. It made Ling Xiao feel that this cloaked Li family martial artist should be at the level of a high-level mystic cultivator. So the Li family was hiding something. But that's only fun. Ling Xiao sneered inside. When the Ling family heard what Ling Xiao said to Li Tianhao, they felt relieved. They believed that among the younger generation in Meteorite City, no one would dare to insult Li Tianhao like Ling Xiao. Good job, Ling Xiao. It was so refreshing to see Li Tianhao suffer. A 23-year-old young man from the Ling family patted Ling Xiao's shoulder with a smile. Ling Xiao knew that this person's name was Ling Yong. He was a low-level mystic cultivator and was the eldest grandson of the third elder. Another young man from the Ling family also praised, "That's right. When we get to the arena, Ling Xiao must teach this arrogant guy a lesson." His name was Ling Hao. He was 24 years old and was also a low-level mystic cultivator. He could break through to the mid-level mystic cultivator at any time. "Let's go, don't just stand there. Let's go draw lots." Ling Feng was slightly annoyed. He was jealous that Ling Xiao had stolen his limelight. He was very upset. The drawing of lots was over quickly. Ling Xiao drew number 8 on the 5th arena. His opponent would be the 7th fighter on the 5th arena. 5 arenas would compete at the same time. The last 2 fighters on each arena would enter the final ranking. Before Ling Xiao's match, there were still 3 matches to be held. Just when Ling Xiao had nothing to do, Luo Qingxuang appeared out of nowhere. Today, she was wearing a red armor that accentuated her exquisite body. Her hair was tied with a red scarf, which made her look elegant and spirited. Overall, she looked valiant and formidable, but she didn't lose the beauty of a young girl. The younger generation of the nearby families were all attracted by Luo Qingxuang's beauty. "Wow, this girl is not bad. She'd be good to be my wife. Watch me go get her." A young master from a small family looked at Luo Qingxuang with a wretched look. "Shu, lower your voice. She's the daughter of the Luo family. Don't drag the family down with you even if you want to die." Another young master beside him quickly covered his mouth and said, "Luo, the daughter of the Luo family." The wretched young master seemed to have been splashed with a bucket of cold water. He didn't dare to have any thoughts about Luo Qingxuang, because he knew that with the strength of his family, he wasn't even qualified to be a guard for the Luo family. Luo Qingxuang was like a happy lark. She ran quickly to Ling Xiao and said, "Brother Xiao, you're here. It's so hard to find you." All the young masters saw Luo Qingxuang holding Ling Xiao's hand and cursed in their hearts. All the good girls had been taken by pigs. All of the younger generation of the Ling family cast envious glances at Ling Xiao. That bastard had even managed to get his hands on the daughter of the Luo family, and it seemed that he'd even thrown himself at her. Ling Xiao scratched Luo Qingxuang's nose and said, "What are you doing here instead of staying with your family?" "I'm here to cheer for Brother Xiao. Don't forget your promise to me." Luo Qingxuang puffed up her cheeks. Ling Xiao smiled and said, "Of course. I'm waiting for you to be my maid." "You're so annoying. I don't want to be your maid," Luo Qingxuang said unwillingly. At this moment, the competition was announced to begin. Two young martial artists immediately jumped onto each arena. For a moment, the sound of gongs and drums shook the earth. Ling Xiao was about to walk to his arena to watch the competition, but he saw a few people walking in front of him. Among the people who came, there were actually two peerless beauties. One of the women looked as delicate as water, graceful and moving. At first glance, one would have an impulse to cherish her. The other woman was charming and moving, with a voluptuous and alluring figure. She wore 1,000-year-old silk armor, making her look even more heroic and extraordinary. Two men followed behind them. One of them was tall and mighty, with an eye patch over one eye, looking rough and frightening. The other was cold and extraordinary, with an indifferent expression and a threatening aura. "Why are you guys here?" Ling Xiao asked the newcomers. The newcomers were Bai Yuxi, Wei Dyer, Lone Eagle, and Ling Shi. Bai Yuxi glanced at Luo Qingxuang, who was beside Ling Xiao, and said timidly, "We're here to cheer for young master." Ling Xiao stepped forward and patted Bai Yuxi's head. "All right, young master has shown his might today. Lone Eagle, you must protect Yuxi well later. There are many people here. Don't let anything happen to her." "Yes, young master," Lone Eagle replied. Wei Dyer looked at Luo Qingxuang and then at Bai Yuxi. She cursed in her heart, "This little pervert, flirting everywhere." When the younger generation of Meteorite City saw Bai Yuxi and Wei Dyer's stunning appearance, they were mesmerized. However, when they saw these two beauties walking towards the pig that the Luo clan's daughter had her eyes on, they found it even more difficult to accept. "Damn, who is this guy? Three outstanding beauties are actually looking for him. They're really blind. This young master is Yu Shulin, handsome and suave. Stop whining. Do you know who he is? How dare you compare yourself to him? You're not even fit to be his follower. He can squash you to death with a single finger. Tisk, don't tell me he's Ling Xiao from the Ling clan." "That's right, he's Ling Xiao from the Ling clan. He's a rare genius in Meteorite City. He's only 18 years old, but he's already a mid-level mystic cultivator. Don't you think you're not fit to be his follower?" Ling Xiao ignored those who were looking at him with envy and jealousy. He brought Bai Yuxi and Wei Dyer to the fifth arena, while Luo Qingxuang was persuaded by Ling Xiao to return to her second arena. At this moment, number 1 and number 2 were fighting on the arena. These two were both high-level practitioners from small aristocratic families, and their fight could be said to be evenly matched. However, a winner had to be determined eventually, and in the end, the young man with the surname Shui won. After number 1 and number 2's fight ended, number 3 and number 4 immediately went onto the arena. This time, there was a great disparity in strength between the two. A high-level practitioner against a mid-level practitioner, and without any suspense, the high-level practitioner won. When it came to the third match, the young man from the Li clan went up against a high-level practitioner from a mid-level family. That high-level practitioner was also very straightforward. He came up and immediately admitted defeat because he knew that the young man from the Li clan had the strength of a low-level mystic cultivator. He wasn't on the same level as his opponent, and if he fought head-on, he would only end up in a miserable defeat. It was better to admit defeat now. Number 7 Qin Tai, number 8 Ling Xiao, please come up. The old man who was the judge on the fifth arena called out. "Young master, it's your turn. Do your best." Bai Yuxi encouraged Ling Xiao. When Qin Tai heard that his opponent was actually the so-called number 1 genius of Meteorite City, Ling Xiao, he almost fainted. Before the competition, he had specially asked someone to do a divination for him. It said that his luck today was especially good, and he would at least be able to enter the top 25. Now, let alone 25, it would be good if he could enter 85. There was probably no one who didn't know of Ling Xiao's fame, and he, Qin Tai, was no exception. Ling Xiao and Qin Tai leaped onto the arena at the same time. In an instant, there were many discussions below the arena, and there was no lack of praise from the young girls in love. "So he's Ling Xiao, so handsome. He's really like the Prince Charming in my heart. He's the same age as me, and he's already a mid-level mystic cultivator. Too amazing. Don't be a love-struck fool. Just now, I saw that the Luo clan's young lady had already pre-booked Ling Xiao. What's wrong with that? I can even be his concubine. I'm afraid you won't even have the chance to be a concubine. Ling Xiao's eyes and ears were no longer the same as before. When he heard the cheers of the young girls below, his heart rippled. This young master's charm was indeed not just for show. Just as Ling Xiao was feeling good about himself, the referee had already called for the start of the match. Qin Tai saw the opportunity, raised the heavy blade in his hand, and slashed towards Ling Xiao. In his heart he thought, could it be that I'm really lucky? The heavy blade slashed towards Ling Xiao's face with incomparable sharpness, and in an instant, it had already arrived in front of Ling Xiao. Young master, be careful. Bai Yushi cried out from below. Just when Qin Tai thought that he had succeeded, his heavy saber actually missed. He didn't manage to cut anything. He stared straight ahead and asked doubtfully, where is he? Bro, I'm behind you. Ling Xiao patted Qin Tai's shoulder from behind and said. Qin Tai jumped in fright and hurriedly jumped out of Ling Xiao's range. Just as Qin Tai was about to attack again, Ling Xiao crossed his arms in front of his chest and chuckled. Bro, as the saying goes, a wise man does not fight when the odds are against him. If you don't want to ask for a beating, then obediently get down. I am a pacifist. Chapter 131. Ling Xiao's kind words of advice turned into mockery in Qin Tai's eyes. He shouted angrily, don't look down on me. Qin Tai's aura rose to the highest point. He held his blade with both hands and slashed towards the sky. This slash was already his pinnacle work. The condensed blade radiance moved forward with indomitable will. If he was up against a martial artist of the same level, perhaps this slash could decide the victor. Unfortunately, his opponent was Ling Xiao, a rare genius in Meteorite City. So stubborn. Ling Xiao looked at the slash and shook his head with a bitter smile. He instantly dodged it and at the same time, sent a palm strike towards Qin Tai's chest. Bang bang. Before Qin Tai could figure out what was going on, his body was involuntarily sent flying until he fell to the ground. Number 8 Ling Xiao wins. The referee announced the result very professionally. Young master is awesome. Bai Yushi cheered from below. Ling Xiao swung his hair that was like a waterfall and floated down the stage. So powerful, I didn't even see how Qin Tai was hit and the victor was already decided. It's a pity for Qin Tai, he's already at the peak of a high-level profound practitioner. If he didn't meet a mystic knight, he would be able to make it to the top 50. That's true, but luck is another matter. The matches ended one after another, and very quickly, half of the participating martial artists were defeated. Most of them were middle-level profound practitioners and some high-level profound practitioners. The Ling family's 10 people all passed the first round and displayed extremely powerful strength. On the Li family's side, a high-level profound practitioner was defeated by a low-level profound practitioner from a medium-level family. On the Luo family's side, a low-level profound practitioner was unexpectedly defeated because he met the Lan family's middle-level profound practitioner, Lan Jianren. This Lan Jianren had hopes of advancing to the top 5 this year, and even had the strength to contend for the championship. The second round of the competition quickly began again. There were only 15 people left on the first stage, and they drew lots again. It had to be said that Ling Xiao's luck was very good. He was the last one to draw, so he didn't have to play a second round. To be honest, Ling Xiao wasn't really interested in this kind of competition. The most powerful ones on this arena were the 3 low-level mystic cultivators. One was from the Li family, one was from the Wang family, and one was from his own family. With his current strength, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he was the number 1 person under the Spirit Master level. At the beginning of the second round, something big happened in the first arena. Ling Xiao's cousin, Ling Li, was heavily injured by his opponent and was defeated. By the time Ling Xiao arrived at the third arena, there were already people from the Ling family feeding Ling Li pills. However, seeing that Ling Li's entire body was burnt to a sorry state and his limbs were deformed, It seemed that even if he took the muscle-gaining pill, he would need to lie in bed for 2 to 3 months before he could fully recover. Most importantly, Ling Li's confidence had suffered a blow, which might seriously affect his future cultivation. Seeing this, Ling Xiao's heart was filled with anger. Who did this? Ling Xiao asked coldly. Although he didn't have a deep relationship with Ling Li, he was still his cousin. Furthermore, this cousin of his had reminded him many times during the family test. Ling Xiao definitely wouldn't allow someone from his family to be bullied so badly. Before the people from the Ling family could reply, Li Tianhao's voice sounded from not far away. Ling Xiao, you see that? Pray that you don't meet me in the arena, or else your ending won't be any better than his. Ling Xiao stood up and looked at Li Tianhao coldly. You're very good. I hope that the people from the Li family aren't cowards. If you don't make me afraid to fight, I'll double the reward. Then we'll see, Li Tianhao said and turned to leave. At this time, Ling Feng snorted at the fainted Ling Li. Useless trash, you've really lost face for the family. What did you say? I dare you to say it again. Ling Zhao's murderous eyes stared at Ling Feng as he shouted. Ling Feng couldn't help but take half a step back in the face of Ling Zhao's incomparably sharp aura, but he quickly recovered and shouted at Ling Xiao. I said that Ling Li is a useless trash. He didn't even enter the top 50 before losing face for the family. Do you think I'm lying? Ling Feng was considered a first-rate genius in the Ling family. He had entered the mid-level mystic realm at the age of 24. He had thought that he would make history and become the fastest genius to enter the mid-level mystic realm. But when he came out of seclusion, he found out that there was actually someone who had broken through to the mid-level mystic realm before him, and this person was younger than him by 6 years. This made his heart feel very unbalanced. Before the competition, he saw others trying to curry favor with Ling Xiao, which made him even more unhappy. Ling Xiao stared at Ling Feng and said faintly, if you have the guts to say it again, I'll make you disappear from this place immediately. Ling Zhao's aura enveloped Ling Feng, and a formless spiritual pressure pressed down on Ling Feng. Immediately, Ling Feng felt that he couldn't breathe, and his back couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. Impossible, how can he have such a strong aura? Ling Feng didn't believe the truth in his heart. He wanted to shout at Ling Xiao again, but he found that he couldn't open his mouth no matter what. Ling Yong, who was at the side, advised, Ling Xiao, forget it, it's not the right time to coax people. Others will laugh at you. Whoever dares to say that my big brother is trash, I'll be the first to kill him. Ling Xiao snorted coldly, withdrew the pressure on Ling Feng, turned around, and walked away. Phew. Ling Feng let out a light breath, his body staggered, and he actually directly sat on the ground. His expression was incomparably pale, as if he had just experienced a huge battle. When the surrounding people saw this scene, they were incomparably shocked. Looking at the figure that was walking away, they suddenly felt that he had become taller. Ling Kuang and Ling Xing, who had always been filled with enmity towards Ling Xiao, were even more shocked. Only now did they realize that Ling Xiao had already far surpassed them, and the flames of jealousy in their hearts burned even brighter. Before Ling Xiao cultivated the soul-controlling art, it was impossible for him to produce pressure. This was because only when he reached the spirit master level could he emit spiritual pressure. Ling Xiao had cultivated his spiritual force for more than half a year, and with the addition of the exploding stalk, his spiritual force was no weaker than the pressure of a spirit master level expert. If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't want to cause internal strife, it wouldn't be impossible for him to directly use his spiritual force to kill Ling Feng. Not only Ling Xiao, but everyone in the Ling clan was angered. Li Tianhao was too ruthless. This time, the Ling clan was full of energy. Whenever they met someone from the Li clan or the Lan clan, they would give it their all. Not only did they want to defeat their opponents, they also wanted to humiliate them. The Li clan and the Lan clan were the same. This time, the third round of the arena became even more bloody. Ling Xiao had a bye in the second round. In the third round, he didn't have an opponent from the Li clan or the Lan clan. He didn't waste any more time and swept his opponent in one move. In the fourth round, Ling Xiao finally met a low-level mystic cultivator from the Li clan. That low-level mystic cultivator from the Li clan seemed to be fearless. There was even a relaxed smile on his face, as if he didn't see Ling Xiao's eyes that were filled with rage. When the judge announced the start of the match, the low-level mystic cultivator from the Li clan didn't attack. Instead, he mocked Ling Xiao, a genius from the Ling clan? If you have the ability, come and cripple me, idiot. How dare you? Ling Xiao didn't think that a low-level mystic cultivator would be so arrogant. He was even angrier. Just as Ling Xiao was nearing, the low-level mystic cultivator from the Li clan smiled and said, "I give up." Unfortunately, before he could finish his sentence, he was punched in the mouth by Ling Xiao. A mouthful of blood splattered, and his front teeth shattered. Immediately after, Ling Xiao's torrential attacks landed on that low-level mystic cultivator from the Li clan. That low-level mystic cultivator from the Li clan didn't have any strength to fight back. His 4 limbs were broken by Ling Xiao. He let out a heart-wrenching scream. "This is the consequence of offending my Ling clan." Ling Xiao crushed the wrist of that low-level mystic cultivator from the Li clan with his bare hands. Immediately after, he shouted and threw his body high up. What is he doing? Everyone looked at Ling Xiao's actions in shock. Immediately after, Ling Xiao leaped high up, and his knee hit the back of that low-level mystic cultivator from the Li clan. That low-level mystic cultivator from the Li clan was hit by Ling Xiao's knee, and his spine was broken. Ling Xiao didn't plan to let him go just like that. He tightened his mental power, and an invisible needle pierced into the sea of consciousness of that low-level mystic cultivator from the Li clan. This time, he was really crippled. When that low-level mystic cultivator from the Li clan landed heavily outside the ring, there was only silence. Even the judge forgot to announce the result. For words flashed in everyone's mind, "He's a demon." Below the ring, everyone looked at the demon-like Ling Xiao and felt a chill in their hearts. Especially those martial artists who still had to compete in the 5th ring, they all prayed in their hearts that they wouldn't meet this demon. Qin Tai, who was defeated by Ling Xiao before, rejoiced in his heart, "Luckily he didn't kill me. It's too scary." A low-level mystic cultivator didn't even have the chance to resist and was crippled. The Li clan members below the ring were all furious. If looks could kill, they would want to tear Ling Xiao into pieces. Ling Xiao got off the ring and looked disdainfully at Li Tianhao, who was looking at him. "Pray that you don't meet me, or else you'll end up like him." Ling Li was crippled by Li Tianhao, and now Ling Xiao was even more ruthless. Not only did he cripple his opponent's limbs, he even used his mental power to pierce the Li clan martial artist's sea of consciousness. If he didn't die in the future, he would probably become an idiot. Actually, that Li clan martial artist wanted to say, "forfeit," but Ling Xiao's speed was too fast, and he didn't even have the chance to admit defeat before he could say anything. He was giving him a taste of his own medicine. He wanted to tell Li Tianhao that he, Ling Xiao, would definitely do what he said. "Brat, don't be arrogant. When you meet our brother Tianhao, you're dead." A Li clan martial artist rushed to shout. "What Meteor City genius? I think he's more like trash. Our brother Tianhao will definitely beat you until you piss your pants and cry for your parents," another Li clan martial artist shouted. "That's right, even if I don't meet brother Tianhao, I can still crush you to death." Chapter 132. Enough! Li Tianhao shouted at his family's warriors, then looked at Ling Xiao and coldly said, "You have guts. I hope you can continue to be so arrogant. Let's go." "Don't worry, before I cripple your Li family's trash, I will continue to be arrogant," Ling Xiao said very arrogantly. As soon as these words came out, the surrounding warriors from the small and medium-sized families couldn't help but admire him. This Ling Xiao is young, but his temper is not small. But his strength is indeed strong enough. Ling Xiao watched the Li family leave and found a place to sit down. Bai Yushi, Solitary Eagle, and the Lung Shi siblings surrounded him, and no one dared to approach within 5 meters of him. Not long after, the top 2 of the 5 arenas were decided. The Ling family took 3 spots: Ling Xiao, Ling Feng, and Ling Yong. The rest were all eliminated. The Li family also took 2 spots: Li Tianhao and the Cloaked Youth. The Luo family's luck was not good this time. 7 mystic cultivators and 3 high-level mystic cultivators only took one spot, which was won by the previous third place, Luo Qi. The other 4 were all from small and medium-sized families, and the Lan family actually took 2 spots. This was a little unexpected. The Lan family's top 10 were Lan Jianren and a young girl. It was Lan Dingshan's daughter, Lan Yen. She clearly only had the strength of a high-level mystic cultivator. It was really unknown how she managed to sneak into the top 10. She must have been extremely lucky. Indeed, Lan Yen had only met mystic-level opponents along the way. She didn't meet any mystic warrior-level opponents, so she was very lucky to enter the top 10. The other 2 who entered the top 10 were Qin family's Qin Li and Shui family's Shui Cheng. At this time, everyone had gathered near the main arena. The 10 outstanding youths of Meteorite City who had been selected for the top 10 also stood on the arena. After everyone had drawn their lots, Li Yu, as the judge, was about to announce the start of the competition when a low voice sounded from the crowd. Wait! The voice was not loud, but everyone could hear it clearly. It was obvious that the speaker's strength was not ordinary. Li Yu frowned and looked down the arena. He really did not know who was so daring to interrupt the biggest event of Meteorite City at this time. On the high platform, everyone had the cultivation of a spirit master. Even the Ling clan's grand elder might not dare to interrupt the competition. Where did this brazen fellow come from, daring to interfere with the clan's tournament? Li Qianzhong had been holding back his anger from before the start of the tournament, and after hearing Luo Xiangming and Li Chui express their goodwill towards Ling Tsong, he was extremely displeased. Now that someone had come to disrupt the tournament, he was the first to stand up and rebuke him. How dare you! A tiny meteor city doesn't even put the people of our Purple Heaven sect in your eyes. A startled shout resounded, and 2 figures jumped out of the crowd. The person on the arena was a middle-aged man who was twice as fat as Li Yu. He wore gorgeous clothes and had a big belly. The first impression he gave people was that he was a nouveau riche. Beside him was a martial artist in a blue shirt who was about the same age as him. He carried a long black spear on his back, and his eagle-like eyes were filled with killing intent. Li Qianzhong did not know who they were, but he heard them say their sect. He was so scared that he staggered. He carefully asked, Are you too, lords of the Purple Sky sect? The nouveau riche Chinese snorted coldly and pulled out a jade token from his waist. There was a simple Z character engraved on it. At this moment, all the people sitting on the high platform stood up. Greetings, Lord Deacon of the Purple Sky sect. All the patriarchs, and elders of Meteorite City did not dare to put on any airs. They bowed towards the nouveau riche and the blue-robed middle-aged man. At this moment, everyone in the audience was stunned. No one knew what was going on, but everyone knew that the Purple Sky sect was definitely a very powerful existence. Otherwise, how could they make the big shots of Meteorite City bow down to them with just a token? Were you the one who scolded me? The nouveau riche asked Li Qianzhong. When Li Qianzhong heard this, he almost collapsed. He immediately bowed even lower and explained, I didn't know it was you. Please forgive me if I offended you. I don't think you would dare. Hurry up and arrange 2 seats for us. We want to watch the battle. The nouveau riche snorted coldly. Yes, my lord, please. Li Qianzhong wiped his cold sweat and quickly invited the person to the seat in the middle. He really did not expect that someone from the Purple Sky sect would come at this time. If they blamed him, then his Li family would not be able to continue living. Many people might not know of the existence of the Purple Sky sect, but as the patriarch of the Li family, he still had a certain understanding of some huge forces. The nouveau riche and the blue-robed middle-aged man bluntly sat in Ling Tsong and Li Qianzhong's seats. No one dared to make a sound. The 2 patriarchs and the previous generation grand elders who were originally watching the battle were driven down to make room. Okay, the competition will start again. Today, we came to Meteorite City to select outer court disciples under the orders of the sect. The disciple of the sect who wins the championship will be qualified to participate in the selection of our Purple Sky sect's outer court disciples, the nouveau riche lightly said. When the nouveau riche said this, everyone on the stage was happy. They immediately cupped their hands towards the two people from the Purple Sky sect and thanked them. These two people from the Purple Sky sect were actually ordered by the sect to select outer court disciples. As a family of Meteorite City, how could they not be excited? If one of their juniors won the championship and was accepted by the Purple Sky sect, then in the future, no one in Meteorite City would dare to provoke them. Who knew how many families would come to curry favor with them in the future? As the leader of the three families, Ling Zong was also excited when he heard this news. But suddenly, he became worried. If it wasn't for the Ling family's juniors winning the championship, then their position as the leaders of Meteorite City would be shaken. I really hope that Xiao Lin win the championship, Ling Zong secretly said in his heart. At this time, Li Qianzhong impatiently stood up and said in a clear voice, "Everyone, these two people in front of us are from our Northwest's largest 8th grade sect, the Purple Sky sect. Today, whoever wins the championship will have the opportunity to become an outer court disciple of the Purple Sky sect." As soon as Li Qianzhong's words fell, everyone below the stage went into an uproar and began to discuss. The 8th rank sect, Violet Sky sect. I remember now. I've seen records of it in the ancestral register. It's the strongest sect in the Northwest. I heard that it has a king rank super expert, an alchemist of the 3rd rank or above, and an equipment refiner of the 3rd rank or above. No wonder the patriarchs are so respectful to those two. So the Purple Sky sect is this powerful. I wonder who will be lucky enough to win the championship. This is going to be a good show to watch. The people from the Purple Heaven sect were like throwing a very large stone into a calm lake, splashing out a circle of very large waves. After everyone was excited, they calmed down again. The competition for the top 10 was finally about to begin. Before the competition began, they had to explain the rules. The competition for the top 10 was no longer an elimination competition. In order to determine the top 10 positions, a semi-round robin tournament was carried out. In the first round, the 5 losers and the 5 winners would be determined. Then, the 5 losers would draw lots to determine the top 6 to 10, and the 5 winners would also be determined as the top 5. Before the competition began, the top 10 contestants drew lots again. Ling Xiao still drew number 8. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. If I was a businessman, I wouldn't even be able to not make a fortune. Very quickly, the first round of competition was arranged. The first match was number 1 Lan Jianren against number 2 Ling Yong. The second was number 3 Ling Feng against number 4 Li Yan. The third was number 5 Luo Qi against number 6 Xue Chang. The fourth was number 7 Lan Yan against number 8 Ling Xiao, and the fifth was Li Tianhao against Qin Li. Under the cheers of the crowd, the first match began. This was the moment that really made people excited. Lan Jianren from the Lan family, 25 years old, had just stepped into the middle stage mystic realm not long ago. He was the most outstanding person in the same generation of the Lan family in Tenbin, and the strongest competitor for the next patriarch of the Lan family. Ling Yong from the Ling family, the eldest grandson of the 3rd elder, was at the peak of the low-stage mystic realm. Like Lan Jianren, this was his second time participating in the quadrennial clan competition. However, the first time he participated he was only ranked around 20, not in the top 10. Begin! Following the command of an old man, the battle began. Ling Yong's strength was not comparable to Lan Jianren's, so he took the initiative to attack from the start, smashing the mace in his hand towards Lan Jianren. The mace was surrounded by a yellow light, looking very imposing and extraordinary. Lan Jianren sneered and thought disdainfully, "Child's play." With a slight shake of his body, a green longsword appeared in his hand, emitting an extremely sharp sword aura. This was an upper-tier 2nd-tier sword. The mace smashed down, and the longsword swung. Clang! The two weapons collided, and sparks flew everywhere. Although Ling Yong had made the first move, he was still pushed back a few steps by Lan Jianren. The difference of 1 tier is like the difference between heaven and earth. Ling Yong's hand was numb from the impact, and he cried out in his heart. He knew that there was a big gap between him and his opponent, so he did not hesitate to use his ultimate move. June shakes the four directions. Ling Yong shouted, and his whole body emitted a yellow earth attribute light. The mace in his hand smashed towards Lan Zhenren in front of him. In an instant, several balls of yellow light that were like pillars smashed towards Lan Zhenren. The moment this move was unleashed, the audience gasped in surprise. It was obvious that they were greatly shocked by Ling Yong's move. Lan Zhenren looked at the approaching pillars, but he did not reveal the slightest bit of fear. A trace of an evil smile still hung on his face, and the green sword in his hand blossomed with light. "Break for me!" Lan Zhenren took a step back, and the green sword quickly swept across the pillar. Rumble! The pillar collapsed in an instant. At this moment, Ling Yong took advantage of the opportunity and arrived in front of Lan Zhenren, his mace ruthlessly sweeping towards Lan Zhenren's waist. The iron spikes on the mace were like the bloodthirsty fangs of a spirit beast. As long as one was touched, their skin would be split open. However, Lan Zhenren was already prepared, and he lightly said, "I've been waiting for you." You're tuning in to the Wandering Hero YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.